Tell me when you're ready. Dan. You don't need to tell me, Dan. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Good morning. It's 9 o'clock on April 2nd, 2024, and I'd like to call the regular business meeting of the Klickitat County Commissioners to order. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So we'll start with approval of the business agenda.
Do you have anything to add, Commissioner Christopher?
I don't see, sorry, I do not see anything on here about the jail or the resolution that was supposed to be brought forward. So I don't know if there needs to be an addition here or what's going on.
I had an update in coming up pretty quick about that. There were more things to work through with partners.
We need to add it to the agenda is my
Yes,
question. So
I can make a motion to that
Thank
effect
you.
if you'd
Thank
like. Madam Chair, I would move to approve the business agenda, adding a jail update from staff under unfinished business and adding commissioner statements before public comment, if any commissioners wish to give a statement.
Just tell me again where you're adding it. Under,
Commissioner statements.
Right.
before public comment.
okay, got it.
Jail update staff under unfinished business.
Okay. Is there a second?
I can't second that. We've never done commissioner statements before public comment before, so.
I will step down in second. Motion in a second, discussion.
Other than the fact that we have never done that before, so I find it unusual.
It is an unusual meeting, so we might need some extra time. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Nay,
Motion passes. Commissioner meeting minutes.
Madam Chair, I would make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from March 12th, 2024 as presented.
No second? I will step down in second. Motion in a second, discussion.
other than the fact that we've had discussion on these in the past. So I am on the record about them already.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay,
Motion passes.
Madam Chair, we have an issue that I don't know if staff can fix. We have reached the 100 participants online and no one else can join. I thought that our program could allow us more than 100 with our paid membership.
And was not aware that we would have this many participants, so.
Okay, well, luckily, it is being recorded,
Right.
so they will be able to view it later. I just wanted to make that.
I would like to do the first public comment for the commissioners, if that's okay.
You're the
today.
chair.
It's about organization for the meeting minutes. One note, I note there's quite a few visitors in the room and on Zoom today. I assume with the call from the sheriff office that went out last night to fill the room, that most here are from the posse and in regards to the jail subject. Please note the information that went out last week that stated the intent of the commissioners to close the jail by April 12th. With more information to gather and so many partners involved in the process, we've had to suspend the resolution for this week. So the jail is not on the regular agenda. But if you wish to comment on the jail, you can do so during public comment. I'd also like to remind everybody and ask that this is a regular business meeting of the county commissioners, and ask that we are allowed to conduct our meeting with respect and civility with no disruptions. As well, we expect the same for your neighbors. Please, public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person, and usual public comment is around 15 minutes. I'm assuming many of you wish to give a comment, so in order to get through our regular day, I will limit public comment to 1 hour for this meeting. Each side allowed to speak, hopefully. Mr. Anderson?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you all for coming, for being interested and caring about your local government, our jail, and our public process. I would like to begin by emphasizing my top priorities regarding the jail issue. Number one, ensuring the safety and well-being of the inmates in the jail. Number two, addressing the concerns of the corrections officers who serve within that facility. And number three, the financial conditions of our county public safety operations, which directly impact our ability to provide our essential services. Regarding the safety and well-being of the inmates, I regret to inform you all that I cannot discuss this matter due to the ongoing legal proceedings. Similarly, I am unable to provide details about the negotiations with the Correction Deputies Union. However, I want to express my gratitude to all corrections officers for their dedicated service to Klickitat County. I would like to shed light on how we arrived at this point. Following the incident last November, I engaged with stakeholders, staff, and elected officials both within and outside the county. Constituents reached out, urging the board to take action. During this time, I collaborated with state agencies like the Washington Healthcare Authority to secure funding and assistance for our jail. Discussions with other officials and staff revealed that I was not the only one working on this issue. On February 27th, the county director and I met with representative of the sheriff's office to discuss jail-related matters. While I will not and cannot delve into specifics without the sheriff's consent, topics such as the jail conditions and healthcare were addressed. Despite accusations and innuendo, I assure you I've been transparent in my efforts. During the March 26 BOCC meeting, I endorsed Commissioner Zoller to lead on the jail issue. On March 28th, Commissioner Zoller convened a special meeting set for the 29th. I want to clarify that I did not confer with my seatmates before this meeting. My prepared statement voiced support for Commissioner Zoller's leadership. As I cannot discuss inmate safety or corrections deputies, let's focus on the financial aspect. With my seatmates' consent, I'd like to present our finance staff's recent cost analysis. This document, minus any privileged union information, will be available for public review this afternoon when we put it on for the jail update from the sheriff. Let me be blunt. Our county faces a fiscal crisis, particularly in public safety costs. We've seen budget overruns necessitating emergency amendments to the sheriff's department budget to the tune of $300,000 in December of 2023. This was roughly 5% of the sheriff's budget. During my February meeting with the chief civil deputy, there was already an expected $200,000 deficit projected for 2024. Our county's financial specialist was predicting closer to $500,000. As you will see, the updated analysis on the jail alone is expected to incur substantial costs this year, far exceeding our budgetary limits. When we include our outstanding liabilities, including medical bills to KVH that is demanding roughly nearly $193,000, the jail alone now has a projected 2024 deficit of $635,000. In yesterday's OPB article, the sheriff believes roughly $700,000 will be removed from his budget. The reality is that the jail's costs for 2024 will be closer to $2.5 million. Frankly speaking, while it would be great to have full-time medical staff in the jail, as many residents have been clamoring for, we just do not have the resources. Our county cannot sustain the status quo. Structural changes are imperative given our financial constraints. We must address these challenges head on with a commitment to fiscal responsibility and prudent decision-making. For these reasons, and the ones I am sadly not allowed to speak about, I made the motion on Friday to have staff begin negotiations with Norcor for jail services. While a final decision has not been made, rest assured, I take your concerns about staff and inmates with the utmost sincerity and seriousness. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Mr. Christopher, do you have anything prepared?
Point of clarification.
Recognized?
Are we going to, as commissioners, be allowed to respond to public comment today like we have in the past?
Yes.
Thank you.
Just for the record, I wanted to make sure that I can pass out the cost analysis for the record
Yeah.
with, okay.
Please. Thank you. Okay.
I do have statements. I was just waiting for the hustle to move. I do not have a prepared opening statement because, as you've heard, that is something that we have never done before. It has never been done for as long as I sat in this room for years before I was elected. So I guess I would say I wouldn't know that we were going to get opening statements. So I'm kind of curious how they both knew we were going to get opening statements. I will, as I don't know that most of you will hang around for after, I will read my closing speech at the start, just so that you all understand where I'm at. I myself find this board's hasty, quick to judgment action to close the jail without so much as gathering the necessary information to consider and debate all the options and the financial consequences of these actions to the county, the city, and the residents, an utter disgrace of leadership. Yes, this recent issue in the jail is very concerning and an investigation should be sought. Myself and everyone I have talked to believes that if there is evidence that anyone violated anyone's civil liberties, there should be charges brought against them. So I am in no way pushing aside or defending any political or any potential malfeasance. We can't fix the past. It's how we address this issue and fix it going forward that we are deliberating today. In my opinion, there are many more facts that should have been attained and many more questions that should have been answered before this board made any decision on the jail. This board should have met for as long as was needed for that each commissioner could get their questions answered and come to a resolution. We should have met with our partners at the sheriff's office, the city government, as well as city law enforcement, WSP, our insurance company, and others to brainstorm options and consequences. Who knows, maybe I would have agreed with this board in the end if the facts were pointed in that direction. My main issue with this board's decision is the closed door, lack of transparent process it has used thus far, and from a sitting commissioner, no less. I also disagree that it took action based on very limited information that leaves more questions than answers, and looks more like political pandering than anything else. A short list of questions I would have asked or facts I would have wanted gathered are, and it isn't so short, it's about 30, I'm sorry. This board should have hired an independent, unbiased investigator to bring in to look into the jail death and potential mistreatment case so that we knew the facts of the case. This board should have asked to speak with our insurance pool in order to gather the information and their opinion from the time they have spent working with our jail. This board should have looked at the option of the BOCC taking over management of the jail and replacing its current management with our own. That would have removed Sheriff Bob and Mr. Colt from the equation. This board should have hired a professional jail management consultant to advise the board through this process and give us insight from jails across the state and the country. This board should have looked at installing monitoring systems to be installed in every jail cell to monitor the vital signs of our inmates for better response to overdose, withdrawal, suicide, and any other medical emergencies. This board should still file suit against the state of Washington for failure to provide qualified, timely training to correction officer staff. Waiting lists 1 or 2 years long are ridiculous. This board should have talked to the jail staff in order to hear their ideas and concerns of jail policy and or management. This board should have done the research to look at how many jail deaths have occurred at Norcor in the recent years, and also look at what other crimes of violence have taken place inside Norcor to make sure this would be an improvement from what we have. This board should have talked to our insurance company to understand that we'll probably still be held liable for issues at Norcor with our inmates. We will not escape litigation. This board did secure financial reports of what it would cost to house our current inmate population at Norcor. And that is what Commissioner Anderson is presenting to you. But to get true estimates for long-term costs, this board should have done the numbers using the inmate population from 2023, 2022, 2021, and 2020 as well, because if they did, I guess they would see the inmate population as more and it would be more expensive at Norcor. So my point is, if the inmate population goes back up, their numbers are flawed. This board should have consulted law enforcement to acquire what changes to operation or staff will be needed if the board took this action to change course. This board should have inquired with all law enforcement if they foreshadow a lower arrest rate and more cite and release based on the drive to Norcor. They also should have read some of the reports on the consequences of cite and release, i.e. more crime in the area. This board should have considered the unintended consequences of cite and release on the law-abiding citizens. This board should have formed a citizens board of stakeholders from both political parties to look at the data that it collected and make a recommendation to the BOCC. This board should have talked with the cities that are under contract to use our jail and consider the hardship it was placing on them with the action it took. Questions I have are, what are the contract termination requirements with the city contracts? The next one is the jail spends $1,000 every month locally at the Farmiston dentist. Did they consider that this might affect if the resources, if they had the resources to stay open and serve the rest of the public if they lose these dollars from the county? What's the economic impact to closure in an already economic depleted and impoverished area? Current correction deputies serve as bailiffs in our court. I have been told that the sheriff is required by law to provide these services. Is the board prepared for the sheriff demanding 3 new employees, and at what cost? Currently, correction deputies provide transportation for most of our residents dealing with mental health crisis. Who is going to do that now, and again, at what cost? Currently, correction deputies provide transportation for our inmates going back and forth to court. Who is going to do this, and again, at what cost? Are any new transportation deputies, if that's what they decide to do, going to be deputized and work under Sheriff Songer? Or are they going to work for us, or what's going on there? And what are they going to do during all the time where they're sitting around and don't have anybody to transport? Has the board looked at who can legally transport inmates across state line? How are we handling our out-of-county warrants? Is there a need for temporary holding cells in Goldendale? Who knows? This board never asked law enforcement agencies for their opinion. It is my understanding that we need a waiver of extradition signed by a judge and an inmate to transfer them across state lines. This all points for the need for holding cells and staff. If an inmate refuses to sign this waiver of extradition, this brings us back to cite and release of some bad people. Where are we housing all the people that get brought back for Superior Court dockets? Sure, East and West District Court can do video conferencing, but you better have holding cells and staff for all these people being brought back for Superior Court proceedings. Now, with that, I do recall Commissioner Zoller saying she's talked to the judges and they're fine, but the evidence I have is the judges knew nothing about this until 5 minutes before the presentation last week. So I think we need to consult with the judges. Next question, where are we housing? Oh, Superior Court, sorry. Next question, did we know, did the board know that the sheriff was provided under law a certain number of management staff? So even with this closure, it will probably not affect Mr. Culp's job other than a job description change. Does the board have financial impact statements covering all of these possible scenarios? And that is just a short list of questions I was able to come up with. I'm sure you have many more. And if we answered all of those and this was the correct decision, then fine. But the rush to judgment without covering any of these is malarkey. And one more, on a personal level to me, this board should have provided me this analysis that you're all now going to see, this limited financial packet that I was given 5 minutes into closed session last Friday. I should have received this packet a long time before the meeting started. so that I had time to study it and go over it and not just get a glossed over 1,000-foot view during a closed session discussion last Friday. Moreover, I believe it is legislative malfeasance to make a motion to close the jail before I was even provided this document. In closing, I thought this board interjected their personal opinions into someone personally into the decision on the landfill contract negotiation that ended up costing this county $1.5 million a year, and that was a bad decision. I feel this board is doing the same thing today by injecting their personal opinion of someone into this highly political decision. And I feel the long-term financial impacts will be just as negative as that one. I would like to point out some info I found doing a quick Google search, which I don't know if the board has done. We haven't discussed it. February 8th, 2024, an article about Norcor correction deputy arrested on allegations of misconduct and sex abuse while on the job. December 7th, 2023, inmate found dead under investigation. January 20th, a woman aged 26 died of undiagnosed pneumonia while at Norcor. 2017, a 34-year-old died. 2015, a suicide. Norcor is not without its problems, and have we looked at those to make sure they have double the inmates as we do? They shouldn't have more than double the problems. In September 2020, Oregon jails reported 212 in-facility suicide attempts over the previous year. In 2017, an investigative report called "Don't Look Around: A Window into Inhumane Conditions for Youth at Norcor" uncovered that the facility was neglecting. Sorry. Was neglecting the mental health and social development of the kids who were retained there. It is also my understanding that, unlike Washington State, Oregon does not require mandatory reporting of jail incidents. So finding a database on any Oregon jail issues is all but impossible. Washington does require reporting. This board needs to stop, it needs to back up, and it needs to examine all the facts and options before moving forward. And they need to do it in the light of day, in front of the people, and not behind closed doors. And that concludes my comments.
And I was not going to comment, but I will add my 2 cents, I guess. Since I've taken seat, I have worked many, many times asking that this board become a board. We're a board of 3, required under law to be a board of 3. We are not independent commissioners working separately, but only together to vote together for the best of the people of this county. That has not happened. I've asked continuously for workshops, continuously for everyone to work together. And I'm sorry to say it's Mr. Christopher that continually shuts me down to work with the board. If Mr. Christopher wants to grandstand today and create a wonderful speech with lots of documentation, lots of facts, some of which have been taken care of, but Mr. Christopher's out of the loop by his choice, so he didn't know what's been going on. I can say there is no one in this room that didn't know from last May through November that we were having very severe problems at the jail. There's no one. And since that time, I've never heard this once from Mr. Christopher. I've never had a hand reached across the aisle with his information, a hand reached across the aisle with his suggestions, and his suggestions that somehow we shut him down is wrong. The record shows that he has refused to talk about the sheriff. He's refused to talk about the jail. It's in our meeting minutes. It's in the videos. He's
Point of
also
order that is incorrect, and I would appreciate it if the board chair would stop making incorrect accusatory statements that she cannot provide the proof
Mr.
of.
Christopher, I have the floor and I can provide proof. And it will be in the local papers, and he has chose to walk out of the room. How do we work as a board of three if somebody refuses to work with you? And I'm glad he's looking at things, and I'm glad he's looking into things, and I'm glad he has suggestions, but a little bit too late. We're down this pike. We had to make hard choices on humanity and hard choices for our jail and our people who work at the jail, our employees. As county commissioners, we're like a ship at sea. And we're one big ship, and we're responsible not just for the budgets for the electeds. We have to overwatch employees. We have to overwatch how things are functioning to keep us out of litigation. It's our job to put that whole ball of wax together. The electeds are actually the smaller ships out on sea doing their jobs, minding their budgets, doing a good job to keep us safe. But they're tethered to the big ship. And if something goes wrong, we have to step in. And we have waited patiently for full disclosure, full information. We've had private meetings, but we had to make a choice because there was no correction happening that would keep our county safe. So it was an unfortunate and a very hard decision to make, but it's something to put the safety in for the employees, for potential litigation, for the sheriff's department, for the county at whole, for litigations. We have risk management insurance that's at risk. How many times will our risk management carry us when we have these heavy burdens applied that they have to pay out? It's going to cost us, and it's going to cost us dearly. And that costs the taxpayer, which even though everybody supports Bob and he's an icon of this county, but this conversation is not about Bob personally. This is about protecting our county. So with that, I'd like to move into public comment. So I have to work between you and Zoom to give everybody a chance. And I'm hoping that we can, I know there's for and against, so I'm hoping to balance between if we can somehow. I don't know how though. Peter Leon?
You want me up there?
Sure, and then they can get it in the recording.
Everybody needs to speak at the mic so that we've got 100 people and a bunch of people who can't get on so that they can all hear and it's on the record. And if everybody in the audience would please refrain from commenting during comment, there are mics in the ceiling and it makes it really difficult to hear.
Okay. And we noted there is a room downstairs with people in it, but it doesn't have a way to comment. They're going to have to come up and try to get in the comment section. And it's we'll start at 9:30 so I can keep track of time.
Before we start, point of clarification.
Okay.
In your prepared speech, you limited comment to 1 hour. I'm curious, this board has never limited comment like that. We have always decided that we would take as much comment was needed until the people were done commenting. So I am curious why the change of rules for this occasion.
One of the reasons is because the call went out to the posse and I don't have to ask for a raise of hands of who's all in the posse. I think if you could have came, and it was from Karen Ellens, and I have a copy of it. So yes, it did go out. Okay, great. So I would like to say my decision for 1 hour was because if we have a conglomerate of people from one group, possibly pinpointed people who represent that group would be better to present it than take up everybody else's public time that might not get to speak, because it's hard to discern who's who.
Point of information, Madam Chair. This board, for the longest time, had public comment set for a maximum of 30 minutes, just for point of information.
Yes, and I remember those times. And I was thinking an hour would give ample time. Probably the subject matter and the statements are going to be the same, quite a few of them, but we'll take note of what they are and try to answer them. And also, we have a regular business meeting to attend. And we have people depending on us that have to have our signatures and have our votes on things.
Madam Chair, being that we don't have a lot for this afternoon, I would move to extend the public comment to 1.5 hours based on everyone taking time out of their day and arriving here. Up to 1.5 hours. We'll see how many people actually want to comment.
And that will put us at 11 o'clock. Would you like to break for lunch then and do regular, all of everything else on our agenda after lunch?
We are so far out of Robert's Rules of Order having discussion after one motion, but I would like,
We are not a county that has, and I'll remind you, Mr. Christopher, we are not a county that has adopted Robert's rules, which are just process. They're not law.
well, then if
and I
we
know
don't follow
you-
Robert's Rules of Order, I would like to make a motion that we stay in session until all these people have had a chance to speak.
Jake, how, did you extend an hour and a half?
I extended an hour and a half. I did not make a motion. It was a friendly
Would be-
ask of the chair.
I would move that we move it.
There's a motion on the floor, Madam Chair.
Motion in a second.
There was not a second. I will second for discussion. I will ask if the motion, the person who made the motion would agree to public comment until noon so that we can break for lunch. And then after lunch, we can push off our department updates. And then we should have everything else that we can do so that at least now our directors know this morning that they will be pushed off till the afternoon if they can make it.
Sure.
Would the,
That sounds reasonable. We do have a public hearing at 1 o'clock, so those do need to go off on time. I will accept the friendly amendment and to take public comment until noon.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm hearing none opposed, motion passes. So we will have public comment till noon,
up to.
noon. Mhm. So, Mr. Leon, sorry.
That's okay. My comment is not about the jail, but it's a comment for the commissioners because you guys are in charge. And I'm going to read Psalm 72. And when I'm talking about the king, you guys, it's all government. Endow the king with your justice, O God, the royal son of your righteousness. May he judge your people in righteousness, your afflicted ones with justice. May the mountains bring prosperity to the people and the hills the fruit of righteousness. May he defend the afflicted among the people and save the children of the needy. May he crush the oppressor. May he endure as long as the sun is, as long as the moon, through all generations. May he be like the rain falling on a mown field, like showers watering earth. In his days, may the righteousness flow and prosperity abound till the moon is no more. May he rule the sea to sea, from the river to the ends of the earth, and may the desert tribes bow before him and the enemies lick the dust. May the kings of Tarshish and of distant shores bring tribute to him, and may the kings of Sheba and Seba present him gifts. May all the kings bow down to him and all the nations serve him. For he will deliver the needy who cry out, the afflicted who have no one to help. He will take pity on the weak and the needy and save the needy from death. He will rescue them from the oppression and violence, for precious is their blood in his sight. Long may he live. May the gold of Sheba be given to him, and may people ever pray for him and bless him all day long. May grain abound throughout the land, on tops of the hills, may it sway. May the crops flourish like Lebanon and thrive like the grass of the field. May his name endure forever, and may it continue as long as the sun. Then all the nations will be blessed through him, and they will call him blessed. Praise be to the Lord God, the God of Israel, who alone does marvelous deeds. Praise be to his glorious name forever. And may the whole earth be filled with his glory. And this is the prayer I have for the three of you as you render judgment on the things that affect us in our county. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Zoom. Probably 1,000 hands.
Leslie was first.
Okay, Leslie Naramore.
Give me just a second.
Okay. Just a second, if you can hear us, Leslie.
Good morning, commissioners. I can't hear you. Sorry about that. I just wanted to say thank you to Commissioner Zoller and to Commissioner Anderson in particular for having the moral fortitude to take decisive action and turning the page on what's happening at the jail. I hope that this is the beginning of the next chapter and that those who are responsible for the atrocities that took place in the jail will be held to account. I know that you're going to be hearing from some very loud voices today who are upset with your current actions, and I want you to know that you have support. You have an entire community that supports and is ready to help. If you can just let us know what it is that we can do to help. So I'm looking at that room full of people. Best of luck to you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Okay, back to the room. Back of the room. Come forward.
Madam Chair, if I may offer some advice, it might help to get the next speaker walking this direction when we go to Zoom. That way they can be prepared in the room. And we can transition smoother.
Dave Barta, Goldendale. Didn't get a phone call, not on the posse. Expected to be one of 2 or 3 speakers today. For a few months, I've been saying our jail actions, policies, and procedures need to be reviewed. Any person in the custody of the Klickitat County Jail is entitled to the best service and care possible and is entitled to protection at every level. Every single injury or death in the custody of law enforcement in a correctional facility is an earth-shattering nightmare for the victim, their family member, anyone connected to that inmate. But decisions on matters like these require extreme care. A deliberative, solutions-oriented approach would have read what the risk pool investigation discovered, then followed that with an independent, full-scale root cause analysis of the 2023 incidents at the jail. Where necessary, job discipline would be applied if the study found errors in treatment, and perhaps criminal charges if it found clear evidence. None of those things actually happened. Last Friday afternoon, this Board of Commissioners passed a motion to begin the process of closing the Klickitat County Jail and contracting with Norcor and the Dalles for jail services. The action was wrongly researched and wrongly decided. It was damaging to the reputations of many fine people who've served in corrections here in Klickitat County for years. Every corrections officer in Klickitat County has been painted with a broad brush as a bad person, regardless of how you sanitize your statements after the fact. Within hours of a double homicide 5 miles north of here, demonstrating the vital need for our police, you found a backdoor way to defund local law enforcement. Now your plan is to take every person to the Norcor facility in the Dalles. In the last 9 years, there have been 4 fatalities at that facility, the most recent being December 7th, 2023. 1 medical, 1 suicide, and 2 deemed natural, though I hardly think there's anything natural about incarceration. 4 in custody death in 9 years. It is tragic. In addition, February 8th of this year, a Norcor employee was arrested and charged for custodial sexual misconduct. Recent state statistics show a total of 65 inmate death reports filed in local and state custody during fiscal year 2023. Sadly, that's 1 every 5.5 days. Everyone a tragedy. Full transparency on this matter is vital. Any member of this board who has been investigated by the sheriff's office and or other investigative agencies over the past few years for alleged criminal wrongdoing or illegal action should recuse from this matter and take no further part in discussion, deliberation, or final action. This will avoid appearance of retribution toward the sheriff's office or its employees. If I provided counsel to the corrections officer's professional organization and I thought there was a conflict of interest, I would demand that very thing. Should be no appearance of impropriety in this matter. I ask the 2 commissioners who don't have a conflict of interest to rescind the board action from last Friday. The injury or death of any person in our custody is a tragedy and should never happen as a result of county actions, but no investigation has been completed. Too much decision-making has happened behind closed doors outside of the view of the public. Restore public trust and actually try to solve the problem rather than sweeping it across the river. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barta.
Thank you, sir.
Is Luke Throop next? Luke Throop, I think you're next in line.
Luke Throop, Goldendale. I just want to let you know that saying that everybody's on the posse and that's why the room is full is not accurate. I did put it on the news this morning because this is something that affects communities on both sides. The Dalles, the Norcor, of course, all the things that have been said already. So I just want to make sure we're not shoveling this off on the posse like everybody's showing up because Bod put out a call. This is something that's very important, near and dear to the hearts of everybody in the community, in the county, in Skamania County, in Wasco County. So this is, far-reaching decisions that you're making here hastily, I might add, and I look forward to hearing from those who have things more to say.
Great. Back in the room, Mr. West. Sorry.
I'm glad you can remember my name. And I'll bet you really wish I was here to ask for gravel for Olson Road. So I'm just gonna totally skip the whole jail scenario. From what you presented on Friday, I believe you're trying to, in essence, make a safer, more comfortable place, in your opinion, for the criminals of Klickitat County to be incarcerated, and you think you can do some significant financial savings at the same time. So I'd like to challenge, especially the two who are up for reelection. It won't happen this fiscal cycle, but the savings. How about you do something to improve the safety of the citizens who are not criminals and use those savings to add more road deputies? Our cities have about 500 citizens per officer. You take out the city population, we're 840 in the county. And we have 840 citizens per officer. And they have to cover by far ranging area. Now, I literally looked at the information I saw as a budget analysis. I really didn't see the savings in there projected. But that's a suggestion. I might even suggest to one of you who's actually never won an election in his own district, who alienated this entire valley because of his position on solar, that maybe you could buy back some of that goodwill by supporting additional road deputies. Because at this point, about 3/4 of this valley wouldn't vote for you if you're the only person on the ballot.
Mr. Wells. Yes, okay. So online, we have Sherry Bosque. Good morning, Sherry.
Madam Chair, sorry to interrupt, but we forgot, and I forgot as well, so I'm not placing blame, to let people know that we have hearing devices back there in the
Oh,
table.
right.
For anybody that might have trouble hearing, he's shaking his head, they must be gone. Oh, they're gone, sorry, my bad.
Okay, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Thank you, Sherry.
Sorry about that. Technical difficulties with
Yeah.
old age, I suppose. I want to bypass this whole gel thing, and I've spoken to you, board, for 4 years now. I came into this with the concerns about how the county was going to allow under canvas on such an access road that would kill the local inhabitants. And just that disgust in watching this 4 years of our county taxpayers' dollars be wasted as a war against the local inhabitants, an illegal battle, because we don't want to die. And that's shameful. Every taxpayer should be aware our county has chose to use its taxpayers' infrastructure to fight and war against the local inhabitants, to allow a deadly thing to happen to us on our access road. It's terrible. And Jake Anderson was a big part of that. And now I want to go into, I've been addressing this board about what is a political subdivision and what is, I'm sorry if I'm upset, and what is a municipal corporation and what hat are you operating under? And I think it's time, as I've watched nothing good come from this board, this corporation that's really served the people, but I've watched our sheriff and I've watched our posse and I've watched every good American out there want to help each other. And I think it's time we, the people, come back together. We forgot who we were. We forgot that we were to govern our government. And I'd like to work with people, because if this corporation is not going to watch out for the best of us, then we need to do what's constitutionally right. And under the oath of office, these 3 people have taken, they are to obey the Constitution. And I think we, the people, need to look into what powers were given to our sheriff. What was given to our sheriff to protect us, to protect the people. I think it's time we look into that together and make sure that we're not being overtaxed, to make sure we're not being taken advantage of by a usurpation of a corporation. And also, you are independent individuals. And if you independently act in illegal ways, you will be held independently, legally liable. I say no more corporations. Let's get back to our republic. There was Articles of Confederation, let me give you some more civics, Mr. Anderson, was created for the people. The government was created to take care, just to watch out for our inalienable rights, not to usurp on the sheriff. Again, the people need to come together. We need to see what's happening, and we need to make sure agendas are not being pushed on us through power that they should not have. They're quasi, look up quasi, they're acting as. And it's time for us to form the real government for the people again. Let's look at who these people are and what are they doing to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. So Mayor Sigfridas. Hard enough to
If
say.
I may, to interrupt, I don't mean to interrupt the Board of Commissioners at the moment, but this
Thank you.
About a 29-page summary, but I'm not, just kidding. Yeah. I've kind of been around the block, with government in Goldendale for like 30 years. I spent 12 years as mayor with 7 counselors, and it was hard until we really got going. And then within 11 years, we got $22 million worth of grants. And that's because the staff worked hard and the city council got along. I've also been on the hospital board now for 12 years, and I've got 6 more to go. So that'll make me 99. No, I'm just kidding. But there's 5 of us, and our only agenda is to make the hospital better. So apparently, if these people, the commission here can't get along with each other, maybe you should move it to, instead of 3, maybe move it till 5. 5 commissioners. I mean, it'll give you a lot more, there's more perspective in that. There's been a lot of things that have happened in this county that have been great, and I wouldn't move away. And there's some things in the paper, I mean, on social media that said, how bad our town is. And of course, there's always naysayers, and they didn't win in this case. But I think we just need to stop and to take a good look of what we have and have maybe an independent organization come and check and see where we can improve on our own, instead of bringing in another corporation that's completely from a different state. They have different rules. You can't tell me it would be a mess for the first 5 years if they lasted that long. And I think we have great people that work for us in the jail. And, maybe there was something that went wrong. It happens. Geez, we're all human. And so I just think that we need to stop pushing this, to get the jail taken to someone else, and let's just see if we can figure out how we can do it ourselves.
Thank you.
And stay at.
Yeah, you
and
heard the
stay-
beeper. Yeah.
No, I didn't.
Oh, thank you
I'm
so
too
much.
old to do that.
Thank you. So online, Becky Miles.
Good morning. I just wanted to say thank you to the 2 commissioners making the very, very difficult decision in closing the Klickitat County Jail. I know that was very difficult for you to do. And I know that you probably felt the pressure of time as well. And I'm just hoping that you're looking at all the options before contracting out. But I do think it was the right move, and I want to say thank you. And again, you do have people's support out here. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. Yeah. And if you can tell us your name for the record too,
Sure.
that helps.
My name's David Clinton, and I'm a wheat farmer in Bickleton. And you can see outside that there's a lot of things I should be doing rather than being here. And so, I didn't know a whole lot about the jail situation other than just this article that I read after your last meeting Friday. And, so I came to a couple conclusions from that. I don't know you guys personally. I've met Dan before, but neither of you two. And so, but the one thing that I'm gleaning from this is Commissioner Zoller, you said you're a commission of 3, but I only see a commission of 1. And so in the statement from this newspaper, it sounds like you did everything all by yourself without a lot of consultation or help or input from the community. And then I see Commissioner Anderson as the follower. And I just, I appreciate you giving the financial part. But when I look at this article that I read, it says, together we will work tirelessly to ensure that our correction system reflects our values, compassion, empathy, and justice. You don't even mention finances in there. And so it just seems like it's an activist politician that had a conclusion already and went out and sought data to try and back up their conclusion that they're closing down the jail. And so anyway, I feel sorry for you guys that you're not a board that can work together. I wish you could. But for me, just looking at this meeting and your comments, Commissioner Zoller, I think, you're a strong personality. Jacob's the follower. Dan's been left out of loop. And I personally think you need to step down. And so, anyway, thank you very much, though.
Thank you. And online, who do we have? Bert S.
Oh, hello. I just wanted to give a little bit of my insight. I've had 10 years of law enforcement experience, 2 of juvenile corrections, 6 of adult corrections, and 2 of patrol. And part of that time was in a contract jail as well. Knowing the cost that other counties pay for contract jails are for profit. You're not going to get a reduced amount. It's not going to be cheaper. There's a lot of loopholes where they charge you extra money. And so with Klickitat County, I believe it's probably between $60 to $80 per bed space. I guarantee Norcor is going to charge more than that because they charge for medical care. They charge for mental health care, everything under the sun. And another thing is when someone has an out of state, so if you arrest someone in Washington, they have a warrant in Oregon, you have to have a waiver of extradition signed before you can cross them into the Oregon state. Where are you planning on holding them? Because that can take weeks if they refuse to sign it, which many do. So that's a concern as well. And then also, yes, no jail is perfect. I've had my experience with them. Norcor this year has already had an inmate death and had an officer arrested for sexual misconduct. And that is just in 4 months. So no jail is perfect. Do I think that the jail needs some things to fix it? Absolutely. But to say it's more cost effective, from my experience, I guarantee it's not going to be more cost effective. You're going to be sending deputies that when someone has a mental health crisis, Norcor doesn't just accept them. They have to sit there and wait for Center for Living to clear them, if they do clear them, which can be hours. So then you have a deputy sitting in the jail for hours waiting for that inmate to be accepted. Same thing with medical clearance. If there is any sort of medical issue that an inmate has, the jail will not accept them and they have to sit at the hospital, which the county pays that bill. And if the hospital decides to accept them, then they can be housed. But the county pays with that bill, and that's even if there's a lot of things that people aren't thinking about when they're thinking of a contract jail. It's not going to be cheaper. It's not going to be easier. I've seen many counties that contract.
Thank you. Back in the room, this gentleman here, go ahead. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Thomas Wilson. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Everyone in this room agrees that we have a desperate measure, closing the jail. Do we have desperate times? I would say, yes, we do. This has gone on for way too long. I came to thank you two commissioners for also recognizing that. I hope this is only a temporary fix. Again, thank you to both of you. And you are a bully, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Gabrielle.
Yeah, thank you. I care for my 85-year-old mother with Alzheimer's. If I let her sit in her bed for 3 months, urine stained, feces stained, with lice in her hair, I would be in the back of a patrol car heading to jail, waiting for my arraignment for abuse and neglect. The idea that individuals in that jail pass by that victim day in and day out for nearly 3 months doing nothing is unacceptable. The idea that people will defend jobs that are lost. If you wanted to keep your job, you would do your job in a way that you were honorable to the uniform that you put on, and you would care about the individuals that you are responsible for. And you would not neglect the Native Americans who have suffered in that jail with death and near-death experiences and neglect and abuse. I appreciate the leadership of the commissioners. I appreciate the fact that you actually took a situation that was barreling down on you and did something. And I stand by your decision. What that looks like as it unfolds will be to be seen. But the reality of what was unacceptable. It was a disgrace. It was an absolute moral disgrace. If you're going to spend time on your Constitution and caring about it, you might live in the 8th Amendment with cruel and unusual punishment as a guide, and you might go to the 14th with due process, and you might care about those equally. We're going to miss the days when the sheriff was basically running around accusing people of being unconstitutional and threatening to arrest them and bringing white supremacists into the county. Those are going to be considered our good old days as you stare down 2 major multi-million-dollar lawsuits because of the incompetence that was coming out of the department. The sheriff department hired Culp, and Culp is not the person to be running a jail, clearly. So no, we defend and we stand in solidarity with the commissioners who actually lead and do something for our county. And if you care so much about individuals, then show up to care about the care that you need to give individuals who are incarcerated and in your community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Gabby. Go ahead.
My name is McKenna Reed. I work at the sheriff's office. I'm in charge of the record division, and I have yet to see a commissioner come in and ask for any documentation for these events in the jail. I took an hour this morning, and I'm going to address some of the concerns that that individual had about that inmate she was speaking of. I have 98 refusals of medication where our correction staff tried to get her to take her medication, to take a shower, to eat, to do anything, and she refused. They did everything in their power to do and keep her safe, but yet you guys don't look into things. It took me an hour, and you made this rash decision that affects families and individuals and kids in our community without doing your research. I have all documentations for the lawsuit because I am the one in charge of it, and yet none of you have asked for those documentations. It doesn't take much time to come down to our office and ask to see those things. I have body cam videos that I review daily of our correction staffs caring for inmates. Time and time again, going above and beyond their job, but yet you don't care to see that part. It would take 2 weeks for you guys just to look into the records and show the community that we are trying. There is a lot of effort that those 16 people that you are just going to lay off in 2 weeks, and that is going to affect their lives. That's going to affect their kids. That's going to affect our whole community. We have correction staffs that go above and beyond in our community and volunteer, but yet you only want to see the bad. So you guys have an obligation to our community to do the research before making a decision like this. I will work tirelessly to show you the documents that prove that our staff is doing what they can do to provide the best care. She refused to get haircuts. She refused. I have documents saying that our correction staff, she urinated on herself, and our correction staff went in there and forced her to take a shower. They did what they needed to do, but you don't want to see that.
Online. Is there anybody? Nobody online? Oh, or the 3, 4, 5,
Can I
5?
say something?
Yeah, what's your name?
My name's Kirsten LaRue. And I would like to speak, just as someone with firsthand personal experience, address the financial side of shipping our people to Norcor. I would like to address firsthand experience, the effects it has on the community when decisions are being made outside of that community. Okay, so I have experience working in patrol in Oregon, in Wasco County for just shy of 4 years. So I worked exclusively with Norcor when it came to transporting inmates. And first of all, I want to say I am not bad-mouthing Norcor in any way. During COVID-19, the decision was made by Norcor that mandatory arrests or violent offenses were the only ones being lodged, okay? So something like that happens again, or Norcor decides to shut down, the Norcor board is who is going to decide who gets to be lodged. That's outside of Klickitat County. I can say from firsthand experience, I had to cite and release somebody for committing a Class A felony because it wasn't a person-to-person crime. And that will happen in our community should something happen. It doesn't have to be something like COVID-19. It doesn't have to be anything to that extreme. They're overbooked. They've got too many people there. There's an outbreak of some other disease. They're going to shut it down, and they have that authority. And here we are in Klickitat County being forced to cite and release people that commit Class A felonies. That is going to impact every person in this county. I can say from personal experience, people were very upset when I had to look at the victim of that crime and they watched their offender walk away because I just had to issue a cite and release. It was outside of my control. He committed a Class A felony, which if you don't know, is the worst. It's the most severe, and got to walk away and go home that day and await a court date months down the road. That could happen here, and it's going to be outside of Klickitat County to make those decisions on who gets to go to jail and who doesn't. That's in the event of a shutdown. That's not going to be every single day, but it is very, very, very possible. Okay, someone comes to your front yard, swipes your bike, we catch them, cite and release. It's very, very possible for that to happen. Again, not every day, but again, that's what the Norcor is going to decide. So people outside of our community are going to decide what is happening with the criminals within our community. The uptick in crime was insane in that area during that time. People with felony warrants are getting cited and released on a felony warrant during that time. It's very possible, and I think people need to think about the repercussions of having this go outside our county, okay? During that time, Klickitat County had the discretion to lodge who they wanted to lodge. And I can say they were lodging more people than Norcor could, and criminals that needed to be in jail, very serious offenders, were being lodged in Klickitat County when they were not being lodged at Norcor. I just want everybody to think about that, whether you support it financially, whether you don't, whether you think it's political. I'm not going to comment on either of that. I just want you to think about.
Thank you. Carmen.
My name's Carmen Knops. I'm the undersheriff of Klickitat County Sheriff's Office. I am the former chief of the Klickitat County Jail. Unfortunately, commissioners, you clearly haven't spent enough time with the jail staff, or you would recognize that the majority of the jail staff is standing right here in this very room alongside their families. But you failed to mention that. One, because you don't come down, you don't know what you're saying when you're making comments up here. You don't have a clue. Since 10/17 or 10/1 of 2017, the jail has booked 4,765 people through the jail. But yet you only want to focus on 2 major incidents that have happened since that time. 2, that's it. You don't want to fund any improvements to the jail for safety measures. You told us there was no money. You told us there was no money for full-time medical staff. But guess what? Norcor, many jails across the state have full-time medical staff, and they have more deaths than we do. Do you know why? Because my staff cares. I sent a document out, and I will make it public, the number of times we have transported to the hospital. In fact, last night, again, we made a transport to the hospital. We do care every minute of the day. Do you know that I'm probably one of the few people that go and give mom hugs to inmates? Mom hugs, because that's what these people need, right? The day before, they might have thrown their feces at me, but maybe the next day they need a mom hug. That's what we do. You don't give a darn about what you're doing to the community. You haven't taken into consideration what impacts this is going to have for arrestees. Or how about, wait, the 2 people sitting at Eastern State Hospital, are you transporting those people back? The 2 people that we have housed at DOC currently, because of medical concerns, we house at DOC. No, you're not going to go pick them up, are you? Because you're probably afraid of them. If I could get on the phone, 2 of the inmates that we have had, and I noted one in here, he chants so loud that when he is in the gym, you can hear him on Main Street. 18 to 20 hours a day that my staff listen to. You haven't come down and listened to it. You come down when we had a jail flood. The jail flood by any means was not my staff's fault by any means, but guess who was there? Guess who drove an hour from Glenwood? My staff. They come in. Guess how long buildings and grounds stuck around? Not very long, long enough to get a little vacuum thing and look at things and leave. My staff and myself stayed for hours in 20-degree weather, swooshing water out of the jail that flooded. You need to think about what you're doing, and you need to do your research. These people do not deserve that.
Do you have someone online? No? Oh, good morning.
All right, my name's Mike. And I'm
Could you say your name again, please? I
George
missed it.
Minor.
Okay, thanks.
And you guys are, I don't know what you are. You're scheming at Christmas. I was 30 plus years in the military, okay? My last 4 years, I was in charge of 400 people plus 40 members of a band. I didn't have to put up with this crap. Okay. I had a 2-star general. We got along fine. He taught me 3 things. When I was working with my members, you go out and say, how you doing? What do you need? What do you need from me? And I made it happen. And I always had things for my soldiers. You know, it's in my other pocket. It's a thing that says you handle things with respect. I haven't seen respect up here. So maybe I should have a meeting with you guys. And let me show you what it's like to be in the military and what it's like to be, respect people. I don't see any of that going on here. I don't like what you're doing, what you're treating to people. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Okay. Now I've got a lot I could say, but I'd probably be going down the road over here with these people. Put me behind. Because yeah, probably will. I don't, you know, it's not funny. It's just not funny. You guys aren't doing your job, period. Okay. And you just sit there, huh? Like, do you understand what these people are saying? I wonder. I don't know. I don't know. I got one person back here that gets a salute when I leave because of he's retired, but he earned that. There's somebody else back here too. I think I better quit because I'm going to go off the boat here pretty quick. You guys ought to be ashamed of yourself. Ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Is it Lynn? Lynn Mason.
Yes, it's Lynn. Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Lynn Mason, White Salmon. I would like to say you should be proud of yourself, the 2 commissioners that stood up and actually made a decision in the face of a massive crisis. The 2 out of 3 commissioners demonstrated leadership in the face of a legal, financial, and human rights crisis. As far as Songer, he's demonstrated that there's no talking or working this out. He has made it very clear that he is the ultimate authority and he will not sit at the negotiations table. The time for sitting down at that table has long passed. As far as losing jobs, no one is entitled to a job, especially when they are grossly negligent, unlawful, and are putting the county or any organization at a massive risk of multiple lawsuits. The hiring of a sheriff's friend with no experience to run the jail was another indication of the dysfunction. Doing your best does not cut it in a court of law with lawsuits barreling down. The 2 major incidents spoken of earlier can bankrupt our county. We don't see the big picture like our county commissioners do. All options were thoroughly researched by many staff and commissioners, and shutting down the jail is the best option. And as for Commissioner Christopher, who says he did not participate in the decision-making, why did you not come forward with the list of things that you listed today, or to actually do something? In addition, Mr. Christopher's display of misogyny towards the woman on the commission is obvious and gross. As a woman who has been flipped off by you in public comment, I know what it's like to be on the receiving end of your attitude, and I'm still waiting for an apology. There is no perfect option, in this scenario. Sitting in a quagmire of indecision is not an option. I, for one, am relieved that we have leaders that are moving forward with this. I have been to many commissioner meetings where nobody shows up and there are many minutes of silence and nobody there to comment. Nobody cares. People are here today because a call was put out from the sheriff's office to the posse. This is exactly what the posse was created for. Many people are unaware of how the commission operates because
Whoops. Yes.
I'm just curious why I was just unmuted. The commissioners have made tough decisions every day. I'm sorry, but I did not see Sheriff Songer or Dan Christopher stepping up to address this crisis beforehand. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And I just need to remind everyone that noise in the outer chamber, clapping, booing, it interrupts the recording. So we'd like to make sure that we just keep it civil, and that way it lets us capture everything we need to capture. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Robert Yosley. I started my career many years ago in psychiatric services, and for 40 years I was in EMS. In Klickitat County, many years ago, I discovered there was an appalling lack of compliance with normally accepted best practices and procedures for 911 dispatch within the Sheriff's Department. This led to many untoward events, lack of ambulance availability for people having heart attacks, and eventually 911 services were transferred to the Department of Emergency Management, where best practices are enacted, and we have a much better 911 system because of it. I'm not saying that that's an easy fix, but is one of the options. I believe everybody here, those in favor of what you've done and those who are opposed to what you have done, are acting out of a heartfelt sense of doing what is best for the public. This is a complex issue. It needs to be looked at and it needs to be solved, because right now you're looking at a $2 million judgment for a wrongful death inside the jail. I support law enforcement 100%, including the jailers. They have the very difficult, unenviable job. My concern is with the culture within the Sheriff's Department and within the jail, and whether that is the best way to partly address this. I am not cognizant of all of the various details that have come out today and have been under your purview because they are privileged. But when I read in the Oregon Public Broadcasting story, which was the first time this came to light, that this event, most recent event, was being blamed on staffing with no apparent willingness to accept any kind of responsibility, left me feeling terribly bad. I know that the legal system is the final arbiter of quality assurance. Rather than saying, oh, it's not our fault, it's staffing and the state's fault, because I would have appreciated something along the lines, we've had a breakdown in our system and we will take every measure to fix it. That would have been the appropriate response. I also know from a communication with Commissioner Christopher that the jail has seen an overall decrease in its population over the last few years due to decreased jailing for drug offenses, while the staff has remained the same, if not increased. And Commissioner Christopher told me there has been no move to cut the budget.
I'm sorry.
Anyway,
thank you.
I just think we need to really take some serious looks and fix this problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So back to online.
Hello?
Delmer.
Yes, Delmer Eldred, Goldendale. And, it appears that Commissioner Anderson and Commissioner Zoller have had secret meetings and set up plans with Norcor to close the jail without advancing notification to the public or to put up a meeting with the sheriff or the staff of the jail to find out the facts and determine what is needed for the jail to correct the problems that have been brought forth. It has been well known by the commissioners for years that the jail has been in need of being replaced. The jail is so old that some of the parts have to be made because you can't buy them anymore. But rather than take a serious look and receive input on what needs to be done, these two commissioners have taken it upon themselves to bypass any procedure and do whatever they please, which I feel they have violated the public trust in their positions as elected servants. Without putting regard into the 15 people that will be put out of work, and possibly you're going to have a couple of deputies that have to transport prisoners back and forth when you already have a shortage of deputies in the sheriff's department. And when we're already having, the amount of budget problems, and now you want to send them to Norcor at $97 a day, and Goldendale normally runs around 40 prisoners. That's $3,888 per day, $1,396,800 per year. And that's not counting any special needs or medical attention. And all the sheriff has requested for years is he needs a new jail. He would like a nurse on staff employed at the jail. And those have been completely ignored. There has not been a grant sought or anything else to help improve the conditions of the jail. And I do comment Commissioner Christopher, for wanting to gather the facts and take a sensible look at the situation before making any decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson.
Hi, my name is Scott Robinson. I am not with the sheriff's posse. Just so you know, I've been living here about 20 years, and I just didn't know all this was going on, and I came down here today, and it looks to me like it's the point here right now. It's time for the commissioners to make a motion to stop this proceeding. Do something today, right in front of everybody here, because it's wrong. We know it's wrong, and you guys have the power to stop it by what you can do it. So do the right thing today. Make a motion, stop the proceeding, look at all the research you have here and all the people to help you that can lead us in the right direction, and reach out to those folks today. Thank you.
Thank you. Whoops. You're next after Outlet, but I'm going to go back online first to see who's online. No one online? Mr. Rizzi, go ahead.
Yes, my name's Anthony Rizzi. I'm the chairman of the board of Dallasport Community Council and Murdoch. I am on the posse because I believe it's a worthwhile program. But what I'd really like to say is that two of the commissioners here seem to have gotten together and did something that, by the way, is illegal by state law. You knew when you went into that meeting that you were going to do what you did, and you left out Mr. Christopher for whatever reason, but that is not allowed. That's collusion. And then you just made a motion to go with it without bringing it up to any public. You know who does that? Biden. Biden does that too. He talks about transparency and then does the exact opposite. And you are doing the exact same thing. I'll give you an example of the posse where, I mean, you guys talk bad about the posse. A week ago, Monday, I spent 6 hours in the jail watching a suicide person. Now, this person said that, he tried to commit suicide. So I was there every 15 minutes. I have to write in a log that he's laying on the mat. He's laying on the mat. and I have to check him every 15 minutes for 6 hours. I did this as a volunteer so that we didn't have to have deputies in there doing the exact same thing when they need to be out on the road or doing other things. But when you have somebody who is suicidal, they have to be under suicide watch. So it's just, you don't be going down on the posse. We're a very big volunteer group that tries to help in our communities because that's what we're here for. And the sheriff needs me, he gives me a call, I'm there. So anyway, I'll end this with Commissioner Anderson, you're up for election. Good luck with that. Lori Zoller, I want to say recall Zoller.
Thank you for your service, sir.
Okay. We'll go with the gentleman at the table and I'll go see if anybody's online since you're there.
Thank you. Excuse my voice. I'm recovering from something. My name is Mike Snyder. I'm from Goldendale. The concerns everyone has here are very serious and legitimate concerns, but instead of insulting you, I'm going to try to have some constructive input. I'm sure all three of you are trying to do what you think is best, and I'm here to try and help you do just that. I have 32 years of experience in corrections, law enforcement, and security management and consulting. I've owned my own company for 22 years. I was on the Department of Public Safety Standards and Training Policy Committee in Oregon. I've worked as a consultant for the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs. I've worked with, trained for, and consulted for city, county, state, and federal agencies from the Secret Service on down. I respectfully submit I understand this issue better than you. I want to give you three quick analogies that I hope you'll consider as I give the rest of my talk here. One, in war, even though the president is charged with leading, he's got a limited ability to make drastic decisions like go to war, supposed to consult with Congress. And I would submit in this case, you guys are like the president and everyone here is like Congress. To do something this drastic, I think you need to look to your constituents and the people in charge of the community and not just simply do this based on your own opinions. In the Civil War, well, you know what? I'm going to pass that up. The Space Shuttle Challenger blew up due to a bad O-ring. There were people on top not listening to the person down below, shouting, "There's a problem." This is a knee-jerk reaction. I'm sure you don't think it is, but as a subject matter expert, I can tell you that not consulting with all areas of local law enforcement, government, and community agencies affected by this, it's absolutely a knee-jerk reaction. Costs you are worried about now are minor compared to future costs you will incur if you do this. I already know of 3 new lawsuits that will be filed if you go forward with this today, but the other costs that will happen will exceed your expectations. Danger to the public is far greater than the incidents you're concerned about, and in ways you probably have not considered if this goes forward. The process here is the problem. The public needs to understand the situation and the impact such a move would have, and you need to understand the full impact of this decision. I promise you, you aren't even close to understanding that. I know this because I have 32 years of experience working in this field, watching these kinds of things happening, and consulting and testifying as a subject matter expert. As a career professional doing risk assessments and cost-benefit analysis, I understand this issue better than you. Despite that, I would be too scared to do this myself without the feedback. So 10 seconds, please.
Okay.
I appeal to you as a professional. The people of Klickitat County will suffer financially, emotionally, and physically far more than the incidents you're worried about if you do this. As someone who's dedicated his entire career to understanding and advising on this thing, please make the more difficult decision to pump the brakes, back up a step or two, and give this process the peer review and public information professionals like me advise you to. Thank you.
Has anybody came online yet? Is there anybody online? No one? No one? Great.
Hi.
Hi.
My name's Danielle Goodman. I'm a control board operator at Klickitat County Jail. And when you say that you have done your research and you've asked people what they think, I have not met any of you. I have not met one of you one single time. So how is that asking us what we need and what we want? What could be improved? Have you taken that into consideration? Have you talked to anybody? Anybody here? Anybody here that I work with? No. So that being said, how come you did not come to us to ask us what we need, what we want, what could be improved? Because from what I've been told, you went and took a tour in Norport to check out their facility, because I haven't seen you in ours. You came and when the pipes burst, I wasn't there. You came at lockdown. You don't know what happens when it's not locked down. You don't know what they deal with. You don't know anything. So before you make your decision, I would really, really appreciate, before you end my job and take away my livelihood, that maybe you should consider talking to the people that actually work there.
Thank you. Anybody online? No more online. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'll keep this short. My name's Chris Siebert, and I sit on the school board. So I'm going to put another spin on this, and I'd appreciate everybody's eye contact and looking at me when I'm saying this. What are we going to do when we don't have deputies on the road and we have a school shooting? Who's coming to respond to that? Who? You guys? Who? Because we're on the hook for that. Sure, we've got things in place in the school. Absolutely. But who is going to respond when our children are getting shot in a school? Heaven forbid that happen. But if I got a deputy that's all the way on the other side of the county, 45 minutes from responding, and I got a Glendale PD that's heaven forbid transporting somebody to Norcor, and I have nobody here to respond, who's gonna respond? This is stuff that's serious. And it doesn't seem very damn serious by the people that are sitting on the board. I sit on the board. I take a lot of heat. So I know what you guys are going through, believe you me. But I can tell you right now, if you're not out in the community, you're not visiting with people, nothing's going to happen. You've got to be proactive, period. Proactive. I'm a business owner. We own 3 businesses in this place. 1 in town, 2 outside of town. I have great friends that are employed. And I know these people personally. Maybe if you get out and actually meet them, you would know them personally too, to know that they care about people. It has nothing to do with neglect. They care about people. It has to do with they don't have the damn resources to take care of the job, period. And that's all I got to say.
One sec. Any online?
Yeah,
Nope.
there's a deputy at the jail that would like to call in. They don't have a raise hand function, and I believe he's ready. But do you know what the name is? I don't know if they're just calling from a phone.
It should say iPhone.
Star 6 to unmute themselves if they're online. We're still at 100, so they might not be able to get in.
Or get the last 4 digits of the phone for us. Thank you, Mr. Siebert.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Yes,
Yes.
this is Corrections Deputy Eldred here at the jail. I have 2 inmates that are willing to speak, if you would allot them that time.
Yes, are they with you at the phone?
Yes, they're with me right now.
And we have just keep in mind, we have a time frame, so go ahead and go.
Right.
Madam Speaker, my name is Daniel Lastly. I'm an inmate here at Klickitat County Jail. I've been here since September of 2023. I was sentenced to 2 364-day consecutive sentences. Since I've been here, my situation's a little strange. My wife is in Canada. My wife was actually housed here for a few months before I was housed. CTEL phones do not allow me to contact Canada, but since I've been housed, the deputies have gone above and beyond helping me to communicate with my wife. They've respected me. They have in no way shown me any type of disrespect or neglect. For the county to go the way they have and just kind of throw them out like nothing. I mean, I'm housed here. I have nothing to gain by saying anything, and I think that it's completely wrong that you guys are doing this to these guys. These men and women are going above and beyond to do a service to their community, and for them to be tossed like that is just completely absurd. And I mean, I know I'm just an inmate and I don't have, you know, much say or anything, but I feel that these men and women, you know, do go above and beyond, and I've seen them go above and beyond and help the inmates here to the best of their abilities and to utilize the tools that are given to them as much as is given to them. And I thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you guys on their behalf, and I guess that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Stephen Smith. I'm also here, housed here at the jail. I've been in custody for over 11 years. I just came back for a resentencing. And in the 11 years, that the staff here have shown this absolute extreme professionalism. From the moment I was picked up 3 weeks ago to this whole time, they operate very proficient, professional, and they are courteous and kind. The stuff they have to put up with is really shocking to me. It's more like a mental health crisis in the community. Instead of shutting the jail, you guys should be looking into opening a mental crisis facility somewhere to really address the issues that these people have to deal with, because it's something else. I haven't seen nothing like this. When I was up at Stafford Creek Correctional Facility, I was in the SBU unit. I was a mentor there, mentoring people that have autism and special needs people, teaching a couple of math classes. And so I recognize a lot of the same traits. You know, it's a major thing going on in America, mental health problems. And that's where your attention should be. But these men and women here, they work hard. They got extreme patience. I'm really impressed with the staff here. You guys really need to take that in consideration. Closing jail is I think you're gonna have a lot more problems sending people over to Oregon, a lot more lawsuits than if you just keep the jail open and do what needs to be done here in our community. Because the taxpayers' dollar should stay within the community, not go elsewhere. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That's every inmate speaking.
Thank you. Lauren.
Hello, I'm Lauren Culp. I'm the chief of the jail. Closing a jail because bad things sometimes happen makes perfect sense, but only if you don't look at all the facts and do your due diligence. How many commissioners during their extensive research picked up their heads to look around the state, to look at other facilities or other states, or even to walk across the street and go into our own jail? On June 11th of last year at 1:35 p.m., Everett Along, an inmate, exited his cell, climbed on top of a railing, and dove headfirst into the concrete floor. He died. On June 12th of last year, one day later, at 2:30 p.m., corrections officers did cell checks on inmates. Approximately 45 minutes later, officers did another round of cell checks where they found the lifeless body of Timothy Hemphill hanging in his cell, dead. He was fine, and then 45 minutes later, he was dead. On June 15th, a couple days later, cell doors were opened to release inmates into the common area. 1 minute later, inmate Michael Gordiano ran out of his cell and dove over a railing and fell 3 stories to his death after impacting concrete floor. What do these 3 deaths have in common? Within a period of 5 days, those 3 prisoners took their own lives, all from the same facility. All 3 were in state custody at Walla Walla State Penitentiary. 54 people died while in the custody of Washington State from July of 22 to June of 23, 1 year. people have died in local jails so far in 2024 is 7. And 20 died in local jails last year, with some facilities experiencing multiple deaths per facility. I realize we don't have control over the state's prisons or other jails, but with some of your thinking, shouldn't we, as citizens, demand that they close state penitentiaries because of these record number of deaths? Or should we look at the root cause of these things, which is drugs and mental illness, and then do all that we can to stop it? For years, Washington State basically legalized hard drugs, which has fried people's brains to the point that we have an epidemic of mental illness. People who won't take their medications, people who won't shower, people who won't use the toilet, people who won't eat, and people who will not cooperate with the very people who are trying to take care of them, the corrections deputies. And we have some of the best, most professional people who care right here in Klickitat County. Closing a facility because these things happen is not the answer. Getting people who
Thank you,
need mental.
Lauren. I'm sorry. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you. Be online. Sheriff Songer.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to speak. Lots been said here, but my main concern is the jail staff, the employees. They were true professionals. And you were quick to throw them under the bus as well as myself. I understand there are people out there that hate my guts. And several of them spoke to, and you know them well, Lori. You know them well. The thing that bothers me, and let me say one thing first. Commissioner Anderson, yes, we met. We talked about mental health. There was no mention about contracting the jail with Norcor. Last Friday, you blindsided us with this comment and direction to contract with Norcor. Not one time did you consult with me or my staff or the employees of the jail and the chief of the jail, Warren Cope. I think it was dishonest and unprofessional on the two of you doing that. You could at least add the decent respect to meet with me and give me a heads up what you guys were thinking. But let's call it for what it is. It's political. You know it, and I know it. You have listened to the other side that hate my guts, and they'll dogpile every issue that comes up. They're part of the defunding of the sheriff's office petition, and I can prove that, by the way. And you bought into their scenario, and they want me out of office. They had that opportunity, but I got voted in, thank God. And I am a constitutional sheriff. And I think what the two of you did was just unprofessional as hell. Dan Christopher, Commissioner Christopher, at least has a reasonable common sense approach to this whole thing. And you guys should as well. But why it's political, you two, because of the cheering crowd that you associate with, the far left, that want me out of office, because you have bought into their scenario, you guys are after myself and Lauren Culp. That's why Culp was brought up. I got news for you. As an elected sheriff, I can appoint my managers. And if you want to come after Lauren Culp, you're going to have a fight on your hands. Because I will. I have a gentleman there I can trust. He's loyal, he's a hard worker, and he's got the background to do the job, and he's a constitutional guy. That's my friend.
Thank you, Bob. Good morning.
Good morning. My name's Steve Glass. I live here in Goldendale. I've got a lot of leadership experience in my past, both in the commercial world. I was responsible for a labor force of over 800 people for 5.5 years. They weren't under me. I was responsible for them. In the military, I was a service battery commander in a 155 self-propelled howitzer battalion. I had 250 people I was responsible for and their lives. You three are responsible for all the people in this county. So you are in a leadership position, whether you realize it or not. You are responsible for them, their health and their well-being. Anybody with any leadership experience knows that when you have a problem, you don't eliminate the concept, you correct the problem. Let me give you a scenario. What happens if a garbage truck backs up, runs over a kid, kills him? Well, that's horrible. Do you eliminate garbage service throughout the county because there was a problem? Or do you research the incident to find out why the driver didn't see the child, take corrective actions so no other driver is going to do this? That's the common sense. That's the correct way to handle the situation. We got a problem in the jail. So you're going to eliminate the jail? The concept? These people have been telling you what kind of problems you're creating in doing that, that actually is worse than the original problem. You're not going about this the wrong way. You're not doing proper leadership. You three need to work together in the open, along with the people of the community, to solve this problem. Don't eliminate the concept. Solve the problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Oh,
Is there anybody online before I do?
no.
Okay. So,
And your name?
so that's what I'm getting. Some of you know me. I know Dan does. Some of the people out here know me. They know me for different roles. My name is Hannah. I'm a member of the community, but I also work for the county. I work also in public safety. These people that you're taking the jobs away, guess what? Those people have kids. I have kids. I work for the county. I work for public safety. Are you going to come after my job next? Are you going to come after the road deputies? You guys have not done your research. You guys are not in the jail being screamed at. You guys are not providing CPR or providing Narcan to the people who overdose. You guys don't know anything about any type of public safety. You don't know anything in the jail. Hell, you guys probably haven't even done anything or any research about any public safety. I know what happened is wrong. I know it's sad. It affects everybody. But me, I am now fearing my job. I now will probably have to look at moving outside of the county. These people back here, you're going to be taking jobs away, but also look at the people who have families. Look at the people who are pregnant currently. They're going to be losing their insurance. And now you're going to be looking at removing a big chunk of people away from schools. Goldendale School District barely passed their levy. Now you're going to be taking more people out of that. How do you guys, who are supposed to be for the public, for the people, haven't done any research on the long-term effects of this? You've heard the incidents. You've heard that you need to go in and do some research, but talk to the people. Go in and make it known. Try. Sit there and do a sit along with them. Walk around with the corrections. I bet you couldn't even last 10 minutes in there. Nobody can. You're afraid of the people who they sit with every day. Are you going to be sitting there when one of the inmates, like Carmen has said, you can hear them chanting in the public? Do you want them in your house doing that? No. Going to jail every day, as these corrections officers are, there's a study shown it's like going to war. You guys have no idea of any of that. And you need to be responsible for taking not only my husband's job, but all of these other people. You guys think of their posse? Do you even know who these people are or what their names are? I can name all of them. I know them professionally and I know them personally. Do you guys? No. I know Dan. I know his wife. His wife worked side by side along all of these people. You guys don't know. And I want you to take a moment and actually thank each one of these people who have done CPR that you guys haven't done. Cut people down when they tried to hang themselves. Give the people the Narcan. You do it. You go in there and you do their job. I guarantee you won't last a week.
Thank you. No online?
Was there anyone online?
Nope.
All
Thank
right.
you for asking.
I'm Deputy Ben Corning, Klickitat County Sheriff's Office. A bit about background. I've been on patrol here for about 9 years. Before that, I worked about 3.5 years in our jail as a corrections deputy, so I know a bit about it. I do have a legitimate public safety concern from a patrol perspective and law enforcement in the county. Someone did reference from a school perspective, if a Goldendale PD officer arrests someone, has to transport them to Norcor and are gone that whole time. The same thing can happen to a deputy with the sheriff's office. If we arrest someone, take them to Norcor. Norcor can be a very busy place. I've been there. I've done jail transports there. The waiting time to get someone booked in can be substantial. We can have minimum staffing. Goldendale might only have 1 officer on. County might only have a few deputies out there. And now they're tied up for we don't know how long. And the community has that fewer people out there keeping us safe. I think that's a legitimate concern your voters should be concerned about. I'm going to point out a couple things. People talked about the impact to deputies, corrections deputies. If you close the jail, that's a big decision. I don't envy you having to choose that one way or the other. However, there's a series of effects that I think are going to be very difficult if you close the jail to reopen it. First, those deputies are not going to come back and work for this county. They're done. You're going to lose over half a century of work experience in the jail. It is very hard to find people to work in the jail who are willing to put up with that nonsense. I lasted 3.5 years. I got out. So you're not going to find qualified people. And imagine the liability of reopening that facility with completely rookie corrections deputies. I think it's going to be a nightmare. Holy cow, I still have time. There have been a lot of charged opinions about some of the bad things that have happened in the jail. Anything that happens to humans is a tragedy. Some of that stuff's really bad. People have badmouthed the COs. Come turn in an application. Come show us how that job's done. Because a lot of people seem to think they know how it's done. That's the one little emotional bit I'll go on. Folks, thank you for extending this so many people could speak. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Sandy? I'll let you go. I'll let you go next. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My turn.
Name for the record.
My name is Cassandra Christopher, and I am the spouse of Klickitat County Commissioner Dan Christopher. And I need to give you my experiences of 4.5 years being in the jail control room operator. In the last couple of years, before this job, I worked in customer service. My husband has proceeded to tell me over the last 4.5 years how I have changed and how this jail has affected me. And I am not so nice anymore because I had to be tough. I cannot tell you how many times I sat in that control room and listened to the bell go ding, 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 just because. And after a period of time, that dinging constantly in your ear, which these other control room operators and other deputies have heard, will get to you. Are we perfect? Were we perfect? Were mistakes made? Yes. How many of you have sat there and had an inmate threaten to kill a CO? I have been there. I had to go to court on it. I had to go to trial on it. How many of you have had an inmate sit there and run around butt-ass naked just because they thought it was funny? This is not something you have dealt with, I'm sure, ever in your life. And until you can sit in a control room for 12 hours and listen, you have no right to make a decision to take these hardworking ladies and gentlemen's jobs away. And until you can sit there and know you cannot do anything about it because of state laws, you can't search anybody anymore. Why? It's against the law. So drugs come in. I've seen it. I've watched drugs being left on a floor and another inmate picked them up as one inmate's getting out of jail. How do they get them in? These guys cannot do anything about it. Mental health, it's there. Why? Drugs. And so until you are willing to work with our mental health providers, our sheriff, Washington State Police, Goldendale PD, and everybody else, please do not make a rush judgment on anybody, because it does affect your mental health as well. And now I have to listen to my husband say, you know what, you're not being so nice today. You used to be the sweetest person I ever knew. So if it affects them, because it affected me, I completely 100% understand. And maybe that's something that you need to look at within yourself. Can you handle sitting there for 12 hours a day or 12 hours a night when you can do nothing about it? Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Amanda Kitchings. What we're talking about today should not and is not a political issue. This is about human rights and civic duty. No one should fear for their lives in our jails. That is not justice. I want to thank all of you for doing what we elected you to do. Listen to the people. For weeks, I've been at these meetings, hearing people call in about the state of the jail. And now today, we have a room full of participating citizens telling us what they're worried about and maybe inspiring you all for actions in the future. But no matter what, this has got to be talked about and dealt with humanely. I hope you take into consideration the lack of resources in our county for people that suffer from addiction and behavioral health issues when moving forward with rebuilding our justice system. This sheds light on larger topics that we're not talking about in our county. And I think if you all put your heads together and work together with the community, you can find something that brings our people back together and back to the Klickitat County where we care for our neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Joseph. I work at the jail. As a Christian, it's hard for me to do this, but I forgive you for what you guys have done. Dan, thank you for looking into a different way. But all I got to say is, I'd like to see you guys in there rolling with an inmate, spraying blood everywhere, and we have to roll in it with them just to get them medical help. I don't know how many times I've gone in cells covered in feces, and I have to go in there and get them out of there and get them help and get them cleaned up. I'd like to see you guys try it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Rhodey Schilling. There's one thing that no one is looking at, and that is the willingness of our county prosecutors to represent the people who are being incarcerated in Norcor. How many times are they going to drive over there to see that client? How many times is the interpreter for the Spanish-speaking people going to drive over there so that they can be represented and not have lawsuits for misrepresentation? No one is addressing that. Our county prosecutors, the court-appointed prosecutors, we have very few of them now, and they are underpaid already. add travel to that, it's not going to happen. And Zoom does not help that because you cannot see body language. We tried to get drug appointment for a child for counseling. The first appointment available for a non-incarcerated person was 6 months. For a teen, 6 months is a lifetime. Where do you go? You work at getting better mental health and better drug prevention. And you have lawyers that get paid and interpreters that get paid to work here, where it's close for every one of those prisoners to have proper representation.
Thank you. Anybody on Zoom? No?
My name's Caroline Knopps, King Nora Ocean, Paul Edward Sam. If you're going to quote me, please spell it right. You guys say you've been doing research, yet you cannot or will not answer any of our questions. So therefore, I have zero confidence you have done any research. I will give you an RCW to read. It's going to be 70.48.090. I'd like you to read all 5 sections thoroughly. You have to give written permission 90 days in advance for any contract that is terminated through GPD, White Salmon, State Patrol, DOC, anything. 10 days does not equal 90 days. That's all I have for right now.
Thank you. Anyone else? Greg?
Greg Wagner. I believe the sheriff's department did their job. They didn't fail. It's the commissioners who fail in their job. From what the people say, you've never been there. You don't know anything that goes on. But yet you're going to pass judgment on these people and you're going to eliminate their jobs while you still have a job and you get to vote your own self, your salary increases. And these people will all be out of work. This board has failed in this instance and many other times. You're derelict in your duties. You're incompetent, you're dysfunctional, you don't work together as a board for the good of the people. Jake Anderson, Dan Christopher, you argue and bicker and fight like 2 little children every week. We get tired of watching it as citizens. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, Jake. You know, your underage drinking party. When these people are out of a job, you still have a job. You should have been over at the jail instead of at the Hood River liquor store buying Pendleton whiskey at 11 o'clock in the morning. Maybe you should have went over to the jail and been with those folks. Maybe you'd realize what's going on. We want leaders in this county. That's what we pay for. But all we get is politicians. And all 3 of you are guilty. None of you have ever went to the jail, from what the folks say that work in the jail. So you're passing judgment on people. You don't even know what you're talking about. But that's typical of this board. All these issues that come up, all you do is just get them done. Jake Anderson, we put out fires every week. You don't know what you're doing. We want proactive commissioners. We want leaders, not politicians. And what we got in you 3 is almost inactive commissioners. There's so many issues in the county, you won't even work a workshop. You can't get nothing done unless you work. These folks work 12 hours a day. You won't even, last month you worked 2.5 hours of workshops. Big deal. You don't get nothing done. And you get the consent agenda. You pass 1 item or 50 items with a motion and a second. You have no idea what you just passed because you don't read all the documentation. If you did, you'd never be able to go to sleep. Y'all are a failure. It's not the sheriff's department that failed. It's you 3. You're all guilty. Dan brought it to light, but you're all guilty. And the man's right. You ought to be ashamed of yourselves. We pay for leaders and we don't get it. You're going to eliminate these people's jobs. Maybe we ought to eliminate your job. You need to go, all 3 of you. The hell with you. And we'll get people that care about the citizens of this county.
My name is Benjamin Lee. I'm a corrections deputy at the Klickitat County Jail. I'd like to address that any of the people that have agreed and spoken about the decision to close the jail have not offered any facts, any information. They don't know anything about what actually goes on in the jail or what we have to deal with on a daily basis. As a corrections deputy, I often ask my superior officers, as well as others who have served at the jail before me, what piece of advice they could give me when interacting with inmates who reside there. The only thing they would, one thing they would always tell me was to remember that even though the inmates had all made mistakes, they're all still human beings and they deserve to be treated as such. They would also tell me that if I treated inmates with respect, they would most likely do the same for me. I've always strived to implement that mindset in every instance and interaction I have with the inmates at the jail. During my time as a corrections deputy, I have seen nothing but professionalism, integrity, and courage from my fellow deputies. I have always had a great passion for justice and serving my community, and I do not take lightly the impact my job has on the citizens of Klickitat County. It is unfortunate how little the public knows about how deputies and staff operate within the jail, for I believe if they did, people would have a more positive view on the work done within the jail. I'm greatly saddened by the accusations and ignorant statements I have heard and read regarding deputies and our work. I personally feel betrayed and let down by the people who should have had our and the community's best interest in mind. It is clear that the board did not take into account the impacts such a decision would have on the citizens of Klickitat County, the residents at the jail, and the employees of all the surrounding agencies and businesses that are involved and have contracts with the jail. In conclusion, I believe that the decision made was rash, illegal, and not thought out properly by any means. I believe in justice and truth wholeheartedly, and I believe that the truth will eventually prevail and that the people responsible for such injustice should and will be held accountable. Thank you.
No one on Zoom? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Maureen Dickman. We moved here 4 years ago and I absolutely love this city and this county. I am a posse member and I'm a posse member. I volunteer to help. I volunteer at the court as a VGAL to help foster children. And all I can say is you need to back up, just back up, back up. Give it the 90 days that the RCW requires. Do your research and do a comparison. Can we fix what we've got? Can we train? Can we hire a nurse practitioner? There's another solution besides closing our jail and putting all these people out of work. That will economically affect this county hugely, from the doctors to the hospitals to the schools, as well as safety of the citizens. How many people are just going to get site released because there's no way to take care of them? The other jails are full. That creates a danger. That's a danger to all of us who live here. To let our sheriffs go, our police, think about these things because it affects every one of us. And I do believe that the public should be involved in all of this before you make some unilateral decision. Just back up, do the research, hire an independent contractor to come in and do an analysis. That takes all of the prejudice out of the decision. That's really all I have to say, and thank you.
Anyone else? Oh, and just 1 second. I would like to remind anybody online that if you do want to speak, you need to raise your hand so that we can recognize you. So.
Also, if you are downstairs and would like to speak, would you please come upstairs and we will try to have some people. I know we have a couple seats in here. Please come upstairs and get in line. And if you have already spoken and there's people waiting, would you please give up your seat so we can get some people in here? I don't know how many people are downstairs.
Oh, go ahead.
Vern Toll, Pete Toll is my evil twin. I'm search and rescue, not posse. I've had 30 years with search and rescue and 26 with the Coast Guard. What I want to comment on, previously, there was a woman making statements about the sheriff's department not knowing about the Nazis. That is an absolute lie. John Anderson knew right when they came into town. He sent information to the FBI. Information was also sent to the Jewish Anti-Defamation League. He recruited people to spy on him. We also knew where Ricky Cooper worked in Portland and where he stayed in Portland. He recruited me to spy on him because I told him I'd met one of my relatives in Los Angeles during the Olympics who was in the Dutch underground. So as far as telling lies about a sheriff's office, that's a bunch of bullshit because they knew everything about Ricky Cooper and who he was tied with. He was tied with Butler up in Hayden Lake. So I'm getting, oh, and by the way, John Anderson is no relation to you either. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. I saw someone else. Oh, there you are. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Chris Toohey. I have been a mental health substance use professional in the jail since 2005. I am also a suicide survivor myself, so I know this is an emotional issue. At my time in the jail, I have worked with literally hundreds of inmates, and I have never had one of them tell me they were mistreated or abused or harassed. Most of them, in fact, have told me, this is the nicest jail I've ever been in. That's why I keep coming back. So unfortunately, some of them have been in there several times. I've been in jails all through the wards, all through the state, all through the Northwest. And they had nothing but flattering things to say about the CO. And this is going back to 2005. So I feel like I have some experience on this matter. And that's been through changes of leadership, changes through sheriff, changes through COs. That mantra that this is the best jail I've ever been in has never changed. Do they like the food? No. Are they happy they're in jail? No. It's jail. But they've never felt abused or mistreated. People die in jails all over. It's a tragedy. It's sad. People get sick in jail all over. It's sad. That doesn't change. But the idea that Klickitat County is abusing or mistreating people is just insane. I feel this decision was made in haste. This decision was made in emotion. And this decision was not well thought out. And it needs to be reconsidered. Decisions made in emotion rarely ever work out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Linda Randall, and I have to admit, I don't know a whole lot about the jail. I haven't researched it either, but I'm not sure that just closing it because there's been an issue is the right thing. But one thing I wanted to say is I'm more concerned, well, I should say I'm more concerned. Another great concern of mine in this whole thing is that you guys don't work together. You're supposed to be a team. You don't always have to agree, but you have to work together. And maybe it's time to put some of those personal issues, those whatever the issues are that causes the division, put that aside and think about the people who voted for you, the people who you are representing. Even if they didn't vote for you, you're still representing those same people. Goldendale and Klickitat County is and should be your concern, not your personal differences. It's just hard to know that this is happening. And until you can say, okay, that's done, that's over. We're going to start new as a team. You can start over and not argue, and not just because Lori brought this, Dan, you're going to say no, or Jake, or whatever. I'm not a real political person. I've never put a political sign in my yard. I could keep that secret because it's a personal thing. We don't have to tell who we're going to vote for. But here in public, I'm going to say, I voted for all three of you, and I'm disappointed that you can't work together. So for the good of your people, for your own personal good, I'm sure all of you have spent nights tossing and turning because you're upset that somebody said this or somebody did that. And by gum, I'm not going to go that way, no matter what it takes, because I'm right. You can't run a government in always being right. You need to work together. Thanks.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you.
Good to go.
Yes.
I'm Brandon Walter. Mr. Anderson, you say you don't usually make decisions without knowing all the facts. Also, you say you really care about the safety and welfare of our inmates, and is that really true? If that is so, why are you wanting to send them to Norcar, where there was just a corrections deputy arrested on allegations of misconduct and sexual abuse? That happened at Norcar. Also, are you aware of all the lawsuits that Norcor is in at the present time? Probably not. You should really have all the facts before making a decision that will affect so many lives. It's just not the corrections officers, it's their families, the cooks in the jail, the vendors that come there for various things. Also, what about the thousands of dollars that is spent weekly in prescriptions here at our local pharmacy? You don't think the breach of contracts that you're creating with law enforcement agencies won't cause financial strain on their budgets and won't bring lawsuits? I think you're wrong. I think all of you should consider pulling this off the table, go back to the drawing board, get the facts, then make an informed decision. And by the way, your paper you handed out about your financial analysis, what did you guys pay for this building that you're sitting in?
Anyone else? Oh, in the back of the room.
My name's Jenny Burney. I worked in the prosecuting attorney's office and East District Court 26 years. I saw a lot of court, I was the trial clerk, so I saw every trial and every criminal case that came to East District Court and took notes of it. I want to just, since I haven't really heard this aspect, it seems like the corrections officers are the focus here besides the financial. Everything is financial. Money talks. When I read the Goldendale Sentinel and I read that article about the Indian death in the jail, I knew this was just a lawsuit waiting to happen. And of course it is, isn't it? And so that's a big threat. I went with jail paperwork into the jail time and time again, many, many times, all the way back to the control room. I walked in the hallways. The corrections officers would tell me if I needed to stand aside, if there were some inmates that were in the hallway that were being moved. And I never, ever once felt unsafe, harmed. It was a place that I was very confident in being. I want to mention that seldom does the sheriff's office bring someone to the courtroom. What happens is every defendant, whether they have money or not, has attorneys that represent them. It would seem that this person that died in the jail environment, must have had an attorney. If, I don't know if the family or the person in jail couldn't continue to contact to that public defender or that attorney, but they're the ones that get things docketed. And so if that person, that legal representation said, this Jane Doe here and my client is suffering in on near-death situation, it could have been docketed and brought before the court. Maybe that person would have been moved or transported, or some kind of legal interaction would have happened to change that. You have lots of people involved in the legal system. And I'll tell you where it happens is in the courtroom. It happens when the attorneys talk to the judge and you get some kind of ruling. So just because there's a lawsuit doesn't mean it's going to prevail either. So just don't get too excited yet. Thank you.
Thank you very much. No one on Zoom? No one else? Okay, Sean? Can you hear us, Sean?
Yes, ma'am.
There, oops.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I had a prepared speech, but for the sake of all of the time, all I need to say is I agree and support all of the things that it's been said about the despicable actions of two of our commissioners. The lack of thorough research, investigation, and proper procedure is disgraceful. This is a rash and irresponsible decision. Those two commissioners do not want to properly do their jobs and protect our community and correctly address and fix the issues. No jail anywhere is without issues, and this solves nothing and has a huge potential for massive repercussions. I sincerely do feel horrible for the losses for the families that they've endured, but shutting down the jail will only cause many more issues than the ones we've had and more hurt and loss for our community. There's no justice in this, considering you haven't been in the jail. I have as a civilian. So you are wrong and uneducated about the jail. So I suggest that you really step back and really understand what goes on in that jail, and the full lack of support for our law enforcement and our community and all the families is absolutely disgusting. So I really sincerely hope that you decide to do your job and do it correctly, because you are seriously going to endanger a lot more people and cause a lot more problems than you can even possibly imagine. So how about you step up and make sure that the people that really need the help and the ones that are giving it get the recognition for the fact of how hard they work and the fact that they are doing their jobs. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Shane Cagle. I'm not here to disparage anybody, either the sheriff's office, corrections deputies, or the county commissioners. I trust all of you to do your job. I trust the sheriff's office to run the sheriff's department, that we have adequate protection. I trust the corrections deputies to do their job effectively. I trust the county commissioners to do their job effectively. I'll be the first person to admit that I haven't kept track of what's going on here or why things are being done. But my observations are that we have a knee-jerk reaction to a fiscal crisis in this county. And it seems to be around inadequate insurance coverage to cover issues like this, because you're certainly going to have them. You can't avoid risk. It's about effectively managing it and having effective monies going to avoid risk. And I have personally seen, a lot of things being cut because we got concerns here in the county. We're losing money because of contracts. Contracts are falling out. So my observation is there's a fiscal risk here. I will admit, I don't like politics. I hate politics. It's terrible. And with politics, people become targets. And, we can be very unreasonable. We become targets when there's politics involved. And I believe the politics are involved here. And we are taking a knee-jerk reaction, and we're going to regret it. And if we are not physically, the county commissioner's job is to run the county. And I think you do, and as ineffective as you do an effective job. Thanks for stepping up and doing it. But I got to say the same thing about the sheriff's office. I got to say the same thing about the corrections deputies. They're trying to do the best they can with limited resources. There'll never be enough money. People are just not going to get along at times, but we still have to work together. And I just see a knee-jerk reaction, and I'd like you to take a step back from the precipice here before you make a bad decision based on some insurance risk to the county. I'm personally going to pay a great deal more attention to what's going on in county government now, because there's a real fiscal issue. And I believe that's the sheriff's office or the corrections deputies have become a target as a result.
Thank you. George, online.
Hi, thanks for having me. So I wanted to just take a couple minutes out of my day, and I appreciate you guys having me. My main I tend not to be political and stay out of all the drama in the county, but being a correctional officer is something that I've experience with. I worked almost 4 years for the Klickitat County Jail as a correctional deputy. And I can say, I mean, a little bit about my background. I spent a lot of time I spent time overseas as an infantryman in the U.S. Army. And I did work as a private contractor after. And I can say, like, without a doubt, being a correctional deputy has been the hardest job that I've ever had. I think a lot of the times jails are treated as like, as a out of sight, out of mind type of thing. People are incarcerated with mental health issues. And during my time, 2019 to 2023, I saw a really high uptick on mental health issues that essentially landed people in jail. And, being a correctional deputy during that time is super, just emotionally draining, I'll be honest. So the reason why I wanted to come out here and comment is that, I've seen a lot of comments online and on the paper essentially highlighting in their opinion how underqualified the jail staff is, and quite frankly it makes my blood boil, because I work next to these men and women, and I've seen firsthand the level of commitment it takes to be a correctional officer. I think the focus should not be essentially on relocating the jail. I don't agree with the shutdown. I would say, as a facility that runs 24/7, it wouldn't hurt to take some time to, to reset. But I think the main focus should be on the jail's mental health, and I think that we should have a just medical staff available 24/7 to the jail, because quite frankly, that in my opinion was the biggest drawback in the county, was that we don't have medical staff available. And if people think that correctional deputies are unqualified to do these jobs, then maybe we should focus on that instead of, taking their jobs away. But I appreciate you guys having me. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good morning. My name is Jamie Jo, and I am a very, very small part of the local care facility that we have here in Klickitat County and in Goldendale in specific. I would really encourage you guys to take the time to come to our facilities and really create an environment of empathy for all of the community members that serve the people here in our community that struggle with addiction and behavioral health issues. I don't really know if you guys truly understand how large this issue is and this epidemic is in our local area. But I can assure you that the people that I work with, even though I am just a microscopic part of the environment to serve these people that truly need the help that they deserve, these people that we see that struggle the most in our lives every day, I hope you understand how much precedent they take in our hearts and emotionally, how much we care for these people. Many times that when you go home at the end of the day, you step away from your family and members and things like that because you are trying to still focus on how you could have helped somebody in the community more that day. And they are in your thoughts and in your prayers so often that it is wrenching to your soul and to your heart because we care about these beloved people so much who are struggling. And if there's just anything I can shed to light today, I hope that you guys can come together and take word from your community members and the people that really, really care and love for these people that we have no contact with outside of our workplace, but we love them so much. And that we can come together and try and find help for them and take matters of bigger standing to help these people rather than looking at minor issues that we can build and fix on. And I really appreciate your guys' time, and I hope you can look into that. Thank you.
Anybody online? Anyone else?
If
Okay.
there's anyone downstairs who wishes to speak, we've got room still up here.
My name is Jake Randall. I work for a public services, one of the safest companies to work for in the United States of America. Do you guys know why that is the safest company to work for? Because when they have a fatality or a problem, they do an investigation and do the research to figure out how to fix the issue. What you are doing is sweeping the issue under the rug and getting away from it. Do your damn job and fix the issue. Don't sweep it underneath the rug. Do the investigation. Go down to the jail. They've brought the records up and they have the proof to say what happened. Get out of your office, get out of your chair, put your boots in the damn jail. Because you are affecting so many other people that you don't even care about. Do your job. You are county commissioners. We pay for you to speak for us. We pay for you to represent us. Do your job. Thank you.
Two 662. Is it Sherry? Who's on 2662?
Tracy and Lyle.
Oh, Tracy, thank you.
And thank you, commissioners, for extending the public comment period today. I believe that was a good thing to do for the people. And that's what I'd like to make my comments to today are the people in the room, the people online, the people of Klickitat County. We, the people, can and we have the ability to direct the board in the way that we would like them to address the issues of our county. We, the people, have the power. We just need to come together. There are councils in every community in Klickitat County, I believe. The Lyle Council has their meeting on the second Wednesday of every month at 6:30. And it's at the Lyle Activity Center on 3rd and Highway 14. And I would invite you all to either come to our community council, come to your community council meetings, but we the people need to come together and formulate what we want to have addressed in this county and bring it to the commissioners. You know, I think the commissioners would appreciate this. I think the people would get addressed the things that are important to them. And I believe that we as a whole can solve a lot of our problems if we just come together. I would be willing to help coordinate a town hall meeting for the people. You can use my phone number, 541-806-2662 to contact me, and I will put together a town hall meeting. And also go to the town hall meetings, come to the commissioner meetings. The commissioner business meeting is every Tuesday at 9 a.m. is public comment. They have an agenda available online for anybody to look at before the meetings. And it's time to voice your opinion. Usually there's only 3 or 4 of us. It'd be great if there was 50. And then a couple things that are coming up that might be of concern are, one is the burn ban. So the commissioners have adopted a new burn ban as of, I think, 2022, that is on predictions of the risk instead of the actual risk. And what it does is it forms a burn ban from the weather predictions, which we all know can change. It should be just a burn ban for when it's dry or when we're in fire danger. That should be coming on around the second week of May. Watch for that. And anyway, just come together as the people and then approach the commissioners instead of doing it this way, where we have an issue that we come to the commissioners all alone and try to defend ourselves. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Tracy. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
My name is Kay Garner Schmidt. My family's been here since 1876. The original homestead, we're still on it. I wasn't going to say anything, but the more I sat here and listened, you two have a problem. Wasn't too sure about Mr. Christopher a few years ago. You're getting on my good side, so that's a plus right there. I feel what needs to be done, my personal opinion, is there needs to be more training with the staff downstairs. And what I mean by downstairs, I'm talking about the jail. I've been there once. I'm not going to tell you why, many, many years ago. But there does, and I know that costs money, but let's get away from the money issue. Let's get back to what the county is about, what the people are about. You're playing with people's lives, you two up there, whether you realize it or not. Maybe you guys should, and you too, Dan, should go down and work for a few hours or just go in there and sit. I'll tell you, the 12 hours I sat there back in 1976 sure taught me a good lesson, a big lesson. But maybe you should go down there and see what it's like, what they have to put up with. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. I hate public speaking, but I will do it to stick up for my fellow corrections officers that I dearly love. I'm Corporal Randall, and I say that with pride because we do everything we can to make sure those people are taken care of. And Ivan's death was tragic. And I see the tears in my fellow corrections officers' eyes because of it. You guys don't have the nightmares and the visions that we have when we have tried our best. Ms. Zoller, you said you wanted a break for lunch. We don't get lunch. You guys opened the door for people to speak against our integrity, our livelihoods. Nobody's in that jail seeing what we do day in and day out. I've never seen a one of you in that jail. You weren't there to console us when Ivan died. I covered Ivan up with a blanket when I was taking his blood pressure, telling him, Ivan, get off the drugs. Ivan, you're a good kid, do better. We monitored him, we watched him. He took the choice, and that breaks our heart. You don't have the nightmares from it. And and we would do it again. We walk through that big green door that slams, that scares most people, and we will do it again. And we do it again, and we do it again because we care. My nickname is Mama Randall. Why do you think I got it? Because I care.
Oh. I'm taking notes.
Can't even look at me. You haven't looked at me. You have your the whole time.
We have. I have, and I'm taking notes about your situation.
You look at each one of those in the eye.
I'm good with that.
You look them in the eye. That's the whole freaking time. That's the whole time. You look at each one of these in the eye because that's the livelihood that you're affecting, because they care. They care for this community. They care for the people of this town. I see people on the outside and they say, Mama Miranda, I'm doing good. We care. We would not let anybody on purpose have something happen to them. We do our best. We are bound by laws on things that we can do. There's processes and procedures that we have to follow, but we do our best. So to sit up there on your high horses and to want to take away our jobs and allow people in this community to put us down is wrong.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else online, Elise? Thank you.
Steve Randall, Klickitat County resident. I'll keep this short. I'm not a public speaker. Mrs. Zoller, Jacob Anderson, we're recording this. You can take your minutes later. Look at the people in the eye.
Right.
It's simple. Do your job, right? Look at people when they talk to you. Have a little respect, huh?
Right.
So I'm not going to sit here and reiterate what however many people have spoke today in favor of keeping the jail. But one thing that is really clear here is you two have not done your job. Dan probably as well. You haven't investigated. You just made a decision last week to look at closing the jail. You haven't talked to nobody. Are you going to call these people liars? No, you haven't met with them. So the bottom line is here, and furthermore, Mr. Anderson, when you stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance, take your damn hat off. I didn't serve this country for you to wear your hat and be in an elected position that you are. Have some respect. Now, the bottom line, I'm going to paint you a picture. There's definitely a stench in the air here. There's a whole stench over this whole matter. And what it looks like to me, Mr. Anderson, Mrs. Zoller, you guys have wiped your butts before you sat down and shit on this matter. And that's why it stinks in here. Thank you.
Anyone else?
think about what I just said, because you're going to smell it for a long time.
Anyone else in the room, downstairs, in the back of the room? I'm sorry, Mrs. Spector.
I got one more thing to say. We don't need to get rid of the jail. We need to get rid of you two.
In the green shirt in the back, did you want to speak? Come forward, please.
I was downstairs.
Okay.
Come up with me. So I'm Andrew Smith, Bruce Smith's son. I've only been in the county 4 years. I've dealt with this man, good times, bad times. He's even given me citations. I am a U.S. Navy sailor. I've been aboard small ships, big ships, 7,000 men. I've been in a lot of fist fights. Lots. So it doesn't matter what goes on in jail. I know lots of people here. I've delivered their kids around as a school bus driver. So I've been through 3 school systems. I've had up to 86 kids on board my bus. Could you handle that, Bob? So there's always problems. Everybody's got money issue problems.
all these fine citizens here, we're all worried about the county. As an ex-bounty hunter, you release these prisoners in, I'll probably go back to bounty hunting and help out this man who's even given me citations. And I've handed citations out to my kids. They're called referrals, and I've done 25 of them in a day with so many kids. I understand we have issues. We've got money problems. We all have them. We both have and dealt with human lives. He deals with kids and adults. I've dealt with only kids, young adults, kindergartens. I've been threatened. I've been told I was going to be killed on a school bus. I've had kids swear and cuss at me worse than a sailor. So be careful. Bob. Good luck.
Thank you.
Did you want to talk?
I don't think I can.
Okay, thank you. No one else? We're very close to time. We have just a very few minutes left. Anyone else on Zoom or downstairs? Okay. Oh, WJ.
Yes, good morning. It's William Morris in Dellsport. I would like to pivot back to the Regulatory Code of Washington in conjunction with Washington Administrative Code. The regulatory codes of Washington are one of a sworn official's best friends. Because when the Washington State Constitution was enacted, it was the most forward-looking, forward-thinking Constitution ever written in the history of the United States of America. And as time transpired and time marched on, the regulatory codes as well as the Washington administrative codes were put in place for sworn Washington State officials like myself and yourself, and for Sheriff Songer, any elected official. They are our friends. Regulatory codes are our friends. They give us guidance. They tell us how it is that we need to operate our commissions, our local governments, our boards, as well as the state. And so I just want to reiterate that we really need to be following the RCWs as previously stated. I do want to give a shout out to every elected official for doing the best they can under these particular circumstances. But I also want to say this, and that is this. There are thankless jobs on this planet. And unfortunately, a bunch of those thankless jobs are unfortunately within the jail, having to deal with the situations that our society has allowed to happen at the moment. The Washington State Legislature decriminalizing drugs has put just a massive burden on our correction officials as well as law enforcement. I mean, you guys know how hard I worked on initiatives to try and get the police pursuit policy overturned last year, and we actually did that through initiatives. And I want to shout out to everybody that signed those. And right there, it gives you an example of what the people can do when you all come together. We got that law overturned. The problem currently facing us can be fixed, and we need to fix this problem in-house. We need to resolve this. Our community is coming together asking that it be resolved. And if anybody needs any help with that, the majority of all of you sitting in the front row have me on speed dial. And so, you know, we're always here to help. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, WJ. See anyone else? We have somebody in the back of the room.
I'm Steve Shields, 27 years law enforcement.
Have had direct and indirect contact with the jail since 1988 to 2015. I know Bob, just for frame of reference. Lauren, I think I've met twice, probably wouldn't know me if he fell over me. Jail, I think, was built, correct me if I'm wrong, 1984. How many deaths, so this is not a rhetorical question, how many deaths have occurred in that jail since 1984? Anyone?
No.
None? I can come up, Mr. Anderson, nothing? You might want to do that research. I can come up with 4. Not the one that current, but there's one that happened before, sheriff before. One that happened the sheriff before, even that one, which I actually investigated that one. And one before them. So I can come up with 4. And the jail's still there. I really think that, I'm not going to go on one side or the other, but I really think that we need to find out the root cause. I've been on many calls with medical people, and people have refused services, and medical people had to just walk away and let them be. It happens in the jail. Yeah, they've got rights. I've also seen medical staff and jail staff also sit with a person to the point of where they couldn't make a coherent decision and then get them to medical help. So I'm not here to, there's always been enough finger pointing and accusations and going on here, but I think stepping back, just like, and if anybody's here as a doctor, I'm not here to get after them, but it seems like you go to a doctor, they want to throw a pill at you. But what actually is the root cause of the problem? And I think instead of throwing the baby out with the bathwater here, I think we need to look at if there is a root cause, what it is. You're placing some burdens on the correction staff about drugs and mental health. Mental health people go through years of schooling and training. Not really feasible with what we have here. There has to be a support system of medical and mental health within the county to address those issues. You can't squarely put it on the shoulders of the sheriff's office. It's not what they're trained to do. It's not their job. And so you have trained people that are focused on those areas to be able to do that. And you need to look at those. So that's all I've got to say.
Thank you. Oh, one more.
Morning.
Good morning.
My name is Emmett Vincent. I'm a corrections deputy down over at the jail. I don't have too much to say for you that you haven't said before or haven't heard before, but I urge you on a personal level to go down there. I don't know what it's going to take to get you guys down there, but you have to see the conditions we go through and the work we put in for these people. I've had my life threatened down there countless times. Thankfully, to no incident, me talking down others from fighting each other, me. I have dealt with a lot of mental health issues that frankly are out of my hands. When we contact DCRs, our designated crisis responders, sometimes they're powerless. Sometimes they'll recognize a problem and won't even be able to get them out of here because the prosecutors won't approve a furlough. So what are we to do then? The document that was passed around here states about an inmate that went all the way to Eastern, had been there for an extended period of time, returned, had been juggled by the courts for an extended period of time, just to then refuse to take their medications and then go crazy again. We are very limited in our ability to make people do things. I mean, I guarantee you a lot of people overestimate what authority we truly have over certain decisions here regarding medical, mental health, and other behavior issues. I can say with confidence that all the staff around me, and myself included, work extremely hard and are dedicated to seeing the best outcome for these people. I guarantee you, if we didn't, you'd have significantly more complaints from the jail. Significantly. But you don't see that. 2 critical incidents happened and you're hearing about it. And I understand that. I understand the want to take action for that, but take the appropriate action. Think it out, think it through. Thank you for your time.
We're getting close to time. Should we move to Commissioner comment? Do you have comments?
I do. I will be short because I know how
Okay.
important lunch is.
Go ahead.
First, I want to thank everybody for coming. But I want to also let you know there was earlier a call to make a motion to stop this process. I can't make that motion now or I will be ruled out of order. Hence the reason why I put it on the agenda to discuss at 1:30. I will make a motion then. That motion will be to stop the current closure plan for this Board of County Commissioners to take charge of the jail. This would remove Sheriff Songer and Mr. Culp, which hopefully alleviates some of the concerns by those who addressed concerns. And it would be to appoint Mr. Doug Gillum as active manager. Then work with our partners, which is all of us, on how we go forward and get the data to decide whether the county wants to keep control of the jail or go to Norcor. But I want it to be an open process with all the data and all the facts. Just for clarification, you all heard from my wife there earlier, who spent 4 years in the jail. Many of you may not know, but I kind of hung around on her shifts, which, sorry, Bob. I was in there quite a lot hanging out. So I probably know the jail pretty good, but I do apologize to the corrections staff. I have not been in there in probably the last year and a half. But I know you, I talk to you out on the streets. I hear the issues. So, but I probably should do better. With that, there was another comment of have we heard from the defense attorneys, and we did get an email from the defense attorneys yesterday. It's part of the public record. You can all request the document if you like, and they brought to light issues that may be violating civil rights of their clients. So I hope these are all addressed going forward, and I hope it's done in an open and transparent way. Thank you all for coming.
Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and thank you everyone for coming. As I said during my open statement, I take everything you say very seriously. I take it into consideration, all the emails I receive and all the comments I've been getting. I take it very, very seriously. My hand hurts from typing so many notes from the things that people have said today. We have to talk about process, and I hate it because process is so boring. The motion that was made on Friday was to allow staff to continue working. I know, and I did not want to put in there a date for a possible jail closing. But in order for the conversations to be had with the union, that needed to be in there. You will see that there is no resolution that was added to the agenda for this afternoon to close the jail. All those discussions are ongoing. I would direct everyone to go back and read or watch the afternoon from the 26th, where we had a discussion on the jail. And in that meeting, I said very clearly, we need to build a big tent. We need to look at this holistically. I feel for every one of you who work in the jail. I feel for every day you spend down there, because it's not what we always thought of as a jail. It's a mental health institution where the people that are running it don't have the experience and the necessary background, as it was brought up, to be mental health professionals, and you're all doing your best. And I thank you for all your time and effort doing that. When I talk about how we need to structurally change how we look at corrections and the correctional system in the county, I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I see the breakdowns. We had to stand up crisis services for behavioral mental health in 30 days 2 years ago. We've spent the time, and it was been discussed earlier about DCRs coming into the jail. Our behavioral health program is trying to work with the jail, and the jail has been working with the behavioral health program. We are hoping to stand up outpatient services for behavioral health by July 1, and we are pushing for that. We are trying to take every action so that the world is changing around us. And we see, based on the changes of the law, the changes of the drugs, the changes of everything that's happening, we have to be nimble and we have to adjust to it. We, as the board of three, have to take into consideration the financial cost to the county. And I just tried to briefly highlight what we're dealing with up here. And these are not issues for today. I'm not looking at today. I'm looking at 5 years from now. I'm looking at the direction that the county is going financially and the options that we're going, and more importantly, the terrible measures that will likely be coming over the long term unless we find extra revenue in order to meet with this. We work with the state and we sue the state trying to get more funds for our correctional system. This isn't just the jail. It's not just the deputies. It's not just the court services. This is everything that we have to work together on as a community. You have noticed that I have not directed any animosity or issues about any individuals. I have not talked about the corrections deputies themselves and the work that they do. I'm trying to look at this from a position that we have to look at this from 60,000 feet. I have taken a tour of the jail. I've seen the storage cabinets and everything. It's been a while. Sorry, we're all so busy doing all the rest of the things that the county does. I'd be happy to come and take another tour of the jail. It has been multiple years. I will be honest with that. Again, these decisions should not be made in a vacuum. They should not be made lightly. These decisions need to be thoroughly discussed. Everything that I said on the 26th, I stand by today. A lot of what you saw in that motion is part of that process so that we can look at all the available options. We have not voted to close the jail.
I have a question.
Sorry.
Say you're too busy. My name is Hannah. Say you're too busy. You're trying to do all of these things for the county. They work 24/7, going on a night shift. Go see what they deal with at 2 in the morning. Go see what they deal with at 10 o'clock at night. You try to put somebody in a lockdown. You try to do all of this. You're too busy? Hell, so am I. But I still make time to take care and bring food to all of my CO staff. And it's not even my job. I'm a wife of a CO. These people don't get breaks. They don't get lunches. You want a break for lunch? Go work.
As I was saying, we take this very seriously, as I stated with the opening comment. We are not there yet. We are still working through this process. I will tell you that the financial headwinds that the county is facing will impact every person in this room. Hannah's, you are worried for your job and the impacts to the 911 system. Take a look at the cost of the 911 system that we don't have revenues for. We have not made any cuts to 911. We actually, excuse me, we have not made any cuts to the 911 system. We actually increased the pay for the 911 operators. We created more positions because there was an issue with the 911 system that cost the county a lot of money. We have to realize that, as I said earlier, the $2.5 million that the jail will cost is 1/2 of all of the money that we bring in property tax a year. The sheriff's department alone last year cost more money than all of the revenues of the county. It was brought up earlier that I didn't bring up in my comments about finances, because that's the last thing I want to talk about when we're talking about people's jobs and lives is finances. It's the last thing I want to discuss. It's the only thing I'm allowed to discuss in this situation, but it's the very last thing, because each one of you who works for the county I know your dedication. No one in their right mind would want to work in a jail. It is one of the most difficult jobs that we can imagine. No one would want to work in 911. As you said, it's like a war zone. As Officer Zendaya said, it's harder than being at war. I take everything that you say very seriously. I do not make rash judgments, as I stated. We are in the process, and I do hope to have conversations again very shortly with the sheriff and his staff and everyone else involved.
About time.
They give their life so you
Great.
can have a good life. Right.
So just to make it very clear how I feel about your jobs and your lives and your personal lives and what this affects. It's heartfelt for me. It really is a very, very hard conversation that is dumped into the middle of something that we were dumped with. The county commissioners don't seek out to be involved in these kind of processes. I have many other things I'd rather be doing. Daycare that people ask for all the time, the airport board that I'm on, 12 other boards that I'm on. This has consumed our lives as a county and as a commissioner. Being charged with being the lead with this process, just to get information so we do have things to work on. There's a misconception here that somehow a decision has been made. All we did was pass a document with an intent, which leaves us the door open that we can work on this. Without that legal document, without that process, we can't move forward. We can't work with partners. We can't create situations where we investigate things. So it's a process for us. And we're nowhere near even starting that process. And I want you to know that I took notes today about things that were concerns for people. And I want to tell you where we are in the process and what we have worked on and what we've created staff team who's given up their work in human resources, who's given up their work in other departments to help be on that staff, to look at all the issues, communicate with people, bring it all back so we can put it in a package to bring it back to this board so we can have a informed discussion. And so starting with people's personal lives, jobs, and human resources, consultations with the unions, transports, impacts to the courts and judges, consultation with other law enforcement agencies in Washington, Oregon, and federal, inmate health care and legal representation in the jail, mental health. And I have pages more, but I didn't want to just take them here and type it and use up the time for everyone. But those are just a few of the things that we are touching on. We're bringing in that documentation from human resources. We're bringing in ideas and help from the unions of what can we do in a situation if the worst thing happened. How do we affect transports? Where does that leave? We very well know if we send a deputy across the river, that leaves less people on the road. And we know there's a lack of staff. We know that, and we're working through those things and putting them on lists of if the worst thing came to bear, how would we ever handle that? What would we look at to say, how does that work? And I want you to know, as far as a review and an investigation, Human Resources did talk to Bob, and there was a request for a review, and they have agreed that that review can happen. So that will happen in the future. That was done with Bob and Carmen, I believe.
Yesterday.
Yes. And that's when that's how that coordination all went to work to do that.
I got another question real quick.
To the microphone.
I got a question. Did I just get blindsided again
No, you did not.
at 1:30? You're gonna make a motion to take the jail away from me and under the county commissioners?
No, we're not.
No, wait a minute. Isn't that what you said?
That's a misconception. Okay. Go ahead.
That is the temporary move. I am requesting to hold off their decision to go to Norcourt. until we can get to the bottom and get all the evidence and.
And why would I and Chief Colt be removed from that and Doug Gillum be put in charge?
Why would that happen?
Yeah,
To alleviate any customer, any resident concern over potential mismanagement until an investigation can be done to clear your name, sir.
clear my name.
Well, it's the,
Well, I'll tell you what.
I'm trying to come up with a resolution.
Well, leave it where it is. Leave the sheriff and the chief in charge. When you find we did wrong, then you make your move.
Good point.
That's right. That's right.
And I invite an investigation into that, and not only into us, but several other people up here.
For the record, I will not be making a motion now.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
Well, who knows what time it'll be, but the update under unfinished business is for staff to give the BOCC an update. We need to know what staff has been working on. Commissioner Zoller has been the lead on this project, which leaves, of course, as Dan very clearly pointed out, the two of us without the information. And we need to know where staff is at and where they're going. And we, of course, invite everyone to hear that update. That will be, and I'm thinking, because there is such interest in this and looking at our time, I would like to move that discussion, if my seatmates so agree, to 1:30, so that at least everybody knows what time that will be at. So that we're not sitting around while we listen to updates from Public Works and everything else that the county commissioners do. Are my seatmates amenable to that?
Mr. Christopher? I have no problem.
Okay. Madam Chair, I would make a motion to amend the business agenda to move the jail update from staff to 1:30 PM under unfinished business, noting that we will continue at 1 o'clock with our public meeting for the boundary lines.
I will second the motion.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. Motion passes.